In the year 2059, nuclear radiation engulfed the entire globe. The internet, technology, and all works of art perished in a blaze of panic. Knowledge and information could now only be passed on by word of mouth. Mutated beasts roamed the nuclear waste fields. Human civilization had long ago collapsed. A great deal of blood was spilled. But of the survivors, there was one warrior who was ready to give his life for his land. The guy insulted those mutants as stupid mutts. After all, they chased him for 3 days and 3 nights. Do they really want to eat him that badly? The mutants just growled at him instead of saying anything. But the guy was not a scaredy cat and shouted at them to attack. One of the mutants took a chance and immediately pounced on the guy with its sharp claws. He managed to grab the guy's arm with his teeth and eat him to the bone. The boy was ready to accept his death, for he fought like a warrior. But in a moment, a thunderbolt fell right on them. The boy opened his eyes in fright and began to scream. But he was no longer the same. He had turned into a little tomboy. He got to his feet and started cursing. And he still imagined the beasts he was fighting and asked them to get off him. He calmed down after a couple minutes and wondered where they had gone. He started to look around and saw that he was surrounded by grass and trees. But he still didn't realize where he was. He continued to consider and reached his body. There he saw that his arms and body had become much smaller. He recalled that Aquamarine had long lost its grass fields and forests, even the blue and clear sky, just stories told by the elders. But this was definitely not Aquamarine. But then he heard an unfamiliar voice telling him that he had finally arrived. The boy was frightened and replied that someone was here. He realized that on Aquamarina, in order to get what little resources were left, people were constantly killing each other. He wondered how things were for humans on this planet. Compared to mutated beasts, the human heart could be much scarier. The stranger immediately answered the boy that he had come. The boy felt the sound that came from this trajectory and ran in that direction. When he reached the river, he stopped abruptly in surprise. He saw people who were very familiar to him, and who were about to fight. The man appealed to the demonic blood ancestor that today, he, the perfect Hao Xian, would destroy his body and destroy his soul. The demonic blood ancestor replied that they were both cultivators of the 3rd stage of Tribulation. How could he claim that he wouldn't be the one to send him to the grave? Hao swung his blade at him, and told him he was talking too much for a dead man. The demon showed his claws to him, and replied that he was insolent. And using water magic he decided to attack in return. Hao stood against him with his sword, but the demon was an ancestor of the man who used magic in battle. The boy straightforwardly realized that these were the same cultivators that the elders told in their stories, and now he had fully realized that this was the world of cultivators, which meant that one could cultivate Tao and achieve immortality here. The battle between the good side and the bad side went on for several hours. After all, no one was ready to give in to the enemy. Hao used his nuclear strike in the moment. It made the water rise several meters and nearly drowned the boy. The boy immediately ran away from there and said that when immortals fight, mortals suffer. It turned out that the elders' stories were true. Those cultivators could kill him with a single wave of their hands if they didn't like him. The boy did not stop from fright, and after running through the forest he finally stopped, because he saw a house ahead. He realized that even if he was in another world now, he wouldn't know for sure if the people here were different from the people on Aquamarina. And of course he doesn't know if the people here will see him as friend or foe. But he decided to get into the house through the window. Nor could he say with certainty that there were no vicious oriental creatures like the mutated beasts from his previous life here. He would have to be careful. The boy's confidence entered and began to say that it turns out this place was a temple. I wonder if there are people here. And then he saw a strange aura and the shadow of a man who was coming out of the temple house. He realized at once that someone was here. The old man who came out of the temple asked if he could recognize who had come to him on such an evening day. The boy flailed his arm in fright on reflex, but then realized he had more than his knife. He remembered that outside, the 2 cultivators were fighting vigorously, and this old man was so calm. Could he be one of those hidden experts from the stories of the elders? If he could become a disciple of this expert, he would have someone to rely on in this world crawling with cultivators, and he no longer has to constantly run and hide, eating dirt and scraps to survive. The boy fell to his knees and addressed the elder, saying that he must be an immortal cultivator from the legends. He begged him to accept him as an apprentice. The old man thought, whose child is this? He seems to be only 7 or 8 years old. Did he really watch a lot of TV about cultivation? The old man asked the boy where his family was. The boy answered without thinking that he was an orphan. But then the old man saw that his fan inside the house had turned off and realized that there was no light. But that wasn't such a problem, since it was almost night, and it wouldn't be so hot. The boy felt that the energy emitted by this expert had weakened. It looked like he wouldn't kill him now. But would he take him on as an apprentice? And he also doesn't know if this world is safer than Aquamarine. He has to be shameless and try his best to stay here, otherwise, with his current childish body, he won't last a day. The boy told the old man that he wants to learn his martial art. In exchange, he can do anything for him, and hopes the elder will accept his sincerity. The old man replied, thinking that he liked to be carefree and unencumbered by the world. However, seeing his sincerity, meeting him here today could be considered fate, so he thinks he'll teach him a couple moves. When the boy heard this answer, he was very happy and shining. The old man asked him what his name was. The boy replied that his name was Lu Mo. The boy asked the teacher how he could address him. The old man replied that his name was Dao, perfect Soyuan Yang. Lu said the teacher's title sounds so powerful. Many days went by and they practiced non-stop. On this day their training was in the forest. Lu turned to Dao and said that he has been practicing this position for over a month now, and will he teach him some skills? Dao replied that he had already told him that only when he had mastered the breathing technique and gathered his first supply of spiritual qi would he teach him the technique. Lu told the teacher and revealed that he had already mastered the breathing technique and gathered his first stream of spiritual qi. In addition, even without the breathing technique, he can feel his spiritual qi increasing. Dao was surprised and didn't understand how. He had just taught him some health techniques he had seen on the internet. How did he even manage to form spiritual qi? But now that it's come to this, he can't just brush this kid off with his words. And then it occurred to him to give him the 2 books he'd picked up. Maybe it would distract him for a while. I mean, they were chasing him. Lu asked the teacher, is he really giving him those 2 secret techniques? Dao replied that it was true, everything he could teach him was in those 2 books. The rest depends on how much he can comprehend. Lu was over the moon and jumping out to his teacher to hug him. He thanked him. Dao thought it had been so long, but still no one had found him. I guess he wasn't lying about being an orphan, and he thinks it is also lucky for him to have a companion in the last few years of his life. This child is also simple and naive. Before he leaves this world, he hopes Lu will become a mature and intelligent child. 10 years later, everything changed and Lu came to the lake to see his teacher. He said that after he passed away 2 years later, his student practiced hard every day. To date, he has reached the innate stage. He will come down from the mountain to continue his training. He is here to pay homage to the teacher. His teacher told him that it was a jade ring, an important item left behind by a celestial immortal. His disciple would take good care of it. Lu said that the battle from 10 years ago between these 2 cultivators was still fresh in his mind. This world is still full of strong experts. All in all, he is very scared to leave this place. Even his cultivation at the innate stage can't guarantee his safety. But if he wants to live peacefully in this world of cultivators, and his only way to become an expert himself. 3 minutes later, it flew over the neighborhood of the Sky City. At this time, most of the young people were in the computer rooms. A boy who spent 24 hours a day over the computer, looking at games and laughing, drooling at the character in the game. The game was eventually turning into real life. A girl named Nini was fighting a flaming phoenix. At this time, Lu watched and thought that to be able to fly a sword, the lowest cultivation requirement was to form a foundation. And if they want to maneuver it like this little girl, they need to be at least at the gold core stage. And if you look at the purity of the light of this sword, it should already be at the innate stage. And he was still playing in the mud when he was 6. And this girl is already riding a sword and slaying demons. Lu grabbed his head and said that this world was so terrible. He was too reckless, descending into the mountains with his pathetic cultivation innate stage. But then a girl came up to him and said he had been standing there for a while. Would he like to use their computers? Lu asked in surprise. Computers? And are there many experts like this little girl here? The girl was surprised and asked him what he said about the little fairy Nini. Yes, there are a lot of people like her. In their day, people like her are everywhere. Lu was distressed and thought that the world away from the mountain Kidget experts. One must be careful not to offend anyone or they would kill him like in those stories of the elders. The girls said that the fees at their place are very cheap and the internet is also very fast. They also have a library of the most popular apps and sites. He can find anything he wants here. Lu asked, could he find anything he wanted? Then he would like to give it a try. The girl asked him, could he show his ID? The girl realized that this guy is a bit slow, but he's so handsome. She'll just look at his address when she registers him, and maybe she'll accidentally run into him later. Was Lu very surprised to hear about the identifier? He didn't understand what it was. It was something that every cultivator in this world had, I guess? The girl asked Lu, does he not have an ID? The guy lowered his head and replied that he didn't. The girl replied that it was okay, but the fee would be 20 yuan for 2 hours. Lu agreed and paid. The girl said this room was more hidden, so he could stay here. If someone comes looking for his ID later, and let him be smarter and not put himself out there and cause her problems. Lu thanked her and asked her how he should use the thing. The girl wondered if the guy was serious about asking such a thing. Does he want to act out the scene of not knowing how to use the computer to get close to her? Well, since he looks so good, she won't expose him. 10 minutes later, Lu sat down at the keyboard. The girl had said he should be able to use it on his own now. Let him just call her if he needed anything else. And then Lu got used to it, and said that he would now see what cultivators could do. After entering the search information, he was surprised and said that there were so many strong people in the world. Lu turned on a video clip of the monster, and freaked out saying it was as innate as he was. It's just a lowlife. If he keeps running around like this, sooner or later he will be killed to death by a real expert. Lu thought, what should he do next? Should he go back and cultivate on the mountain again? But that would be too slow. Cultivation is as difficult as ascending to heaven. It used to be taught by a teacher, but now there is no teacher. And then the guy decided that the teacher was dead, but he could find a replacement for him. Since everyone shares their successes on the internet, maybe he can find someone willing to give him some advice. But he also remembered that the elder had said earlier that there were many experts in the other app. He should try that one first. Opening it, Lu said, there are truly many powerful people here. There are even many people who are making their own points. This is so convenient. Lu thought with his head like this, he's going to make a video and maybe someone will give him some tips. Turning on the video, he was shy at first, showing something off. But then he pulled himself together and used his breath. He started transferring his energy from hand to hand and the light was so bright, and at the end turned it into a weapon of battle. After finishing the demonstration, he turned to the esteemed experts and asked if he could ask them to evaluate his chi flow and give him advice on how to improve it. Also, is it too late to start cultivating at 8 years old? He uploaded it on the app and wondered if anyone would watch his videos. And maybe they would give him some tips, but in a moment he received a notification from a girl. He was very much surprised that someone answered him. At this time at the live streaming studio, the guy told Dalia that they were checking the internet, and the stream would be up in 10 minutes. Dalia was on her phone at the time and answered the guy that she had heard everything. But her thoughts were fixated on the video where House said he would destroy the demon. Dalia sighed sadly and said that 10 years ago she loved watching the show. But if you look closely, whether it's the acting or the special effects, both are a bit lacking. But then a little girl ran to her and asked her, did she watch that show too? I remember in those days, they didn't have any computers to help. Many of the special effects in this series were done in reality. It was considered a phenomenal hit in its time. Dalia asked her, wasn't she only 7 or 8 years old 10 years ago? How did she know all this? The girl replied that she learned it from her elders. But then Dalia turned on the next video and said, what the hell is this? He was being overpraised. The girl sitting next to him started laughing too, and then in the moment she got to a video of Lu demonstrating his abilities, on video. The girl saw too and said this bro is pretty handsome. Lu videotaped everything and not realizing that everyone would see him and look for him. The girl said his special effects are amazing. The sword looks like it's actually floating. Dalia said it was really good too. But then she listened to Lu's message while he was talking to the other experts. The girls were surprised and didn't understand. What else is starting cultivation at 8 years old? Dalia said, getting curious. The kid's acting wasn't bad, she even believed him for a moment. Dalia decided that she would give Lu a like for such a great video. But she stopped at the comments people had left. At this time, the guy turned to her and told her that the stream was about to start, and she could walk up to the camera already. Dalia hurried over and gave the phone to the girl to hold. The girl was surprised and asked her what she really said back to him. She knows how many hits that will get him, right? Dalia replied to help her keep an eye on him. She wants to see if he has any more aces up his sleeve. At this time, Lu was very much surprised. After all, he believed that he had actually been answered by an expert. People at this time were already discussing that goddess Dalia actually answered some random guy. And they wondered who the lucky guy was. After all, any video that gets likes from his waifu is bound to be great too. The girls and parents also said that Dalia liked and left a comment under this guy's video. Within a few hours, the likes of Lu's video went viral all over social media. Lu said there are so many responses, and he doesn't think he can read all of them. Lu decided that he would read the comments slowly. But seeing some kind words he blushed. After all, they say he is handsome. Lu was overjoyed and couldn't believe that he was considered handsome. He must have looked pretty good after entering this world. However, Lu thought, what are special effects? Also flaws, do they indicate flaws in his chi? One heater said he must be a pro pretending to be a rookie to gain more views. He started cultivating at 8 years old? But the guy started collecting chi at 3 years old, and decided to risk writing to him to shut him up out of humiliation. Lu directly saw this guy's post, and was greatly surprised that he started collecting spirit chi at 3 years old. Also, innate stage at 7 and spirit transformation at 10. The guy looked at his phone and said that even his Dalia had answered him. Then he, as a great master, should teach him a lesson. Lu read all this and said he was asking them for advice. He knows that his talent is quite limited. He was too reckless, leaving the mountain so early. And he hopes someone can help him. Lu received a message again, and he realized that it was an expert replying to him, who was telling him to use his heart to feel the chi. Lu began to ponder the use of the heart, and decided that he needed to give it a try. He immediately crossed his fingers and began to cultivate. Opening his eyes, he rejoiced, and was saying that it worked for him. And the expert advice was indeed effective. Lu sat back down, and said that all the experts in this world were so willing to share their knowledge. Even if he learned only half of the techniques from each of them, he would still get a tremendous result. And he would definitely need to learn everything. He would start with her first. And then he chose Dalia herself. At this time, Dalia was live and demonstrating new fire battle techniques for all to see. Dalia said that she was a velvet fairy Qing Xiuguan with an innate spiritual wind physique. The Tao is difficult to comprehend. For mortals to go against the natural order of life is as difficult as ascending to heaven. And on the path of cultivation, talent is the most important. A person's chances of ascension are determined by the abilities he is endowed with from birth, and so the best time to start cultivating is from the moment of their birth. In time, his body would be corrupted by the impurities of the mortal world. Lu listened to her words and realized that this was why he was failing. After all, he had only started at the age of 8. If he had only been reborn as an infant, then he would have at least reached the level of innate balance. Lu started on the button and told Velvet Fairy that he was too late to start cultivating and his body was already polluted with impurities. But was there any way to remedy his situation? Main asked Dalia, did she do anything today? The number of people watching her stream today has already surpassed 15,000. And then a girl came running in and turned to Dalia saying that this little brother had asked her a question in the chat room. Ever since it came out, the nation has gone into a frenzy. The number of people watching the stream continues to grow. Dalia was curious. This guy was getting more and more into his field game. So she decided she would play with him too. Dalia turned to Dao Luemo and told him that he shouldn't worry too much about starting too late. As for getting out of the situation, he should first use spiritual chi to wash away the impurities inside his body. And then Lu thought, how could he intentionally withdraw pure spiritual chi from his body? To use it to remove impurities? He thought long and hard and decided it might work. He needs to find a secluded place to try it. The girls saw Lu running out of the room and said that his time was not up yet. He'll come back, right? And they don't return the money. Dalia was streaming at the time, and then the person in charge said she was getting too into character, Let them switch. Lu at this time reached a secluded spot to try the advice said by Dalia. He said there were no people within a few kilometers, and this would be a good place to practice. Lu crossed his fingers in a moment, and released his chi energy to get rid of the pests. Releasing energy onto his body, he used an energy cipher, then drew a sign. Lu stood in the middle and started floating in the sky. He wasn't willing to give up and do anything to fix his body. Lu opened his eyes abruptly in a moment, and the energy was completely released. The panes of glass could not withstand such an onslaught and were shattered. Lu realized he was making it out, and slowly breathing through his nose he absorbed the pure energy into his body. Lu immediately released the energy again, and left an imprint of his hand in the wall. He looked around and said it worked. The boy rejoiced and shouted that the Velvet Fairy was indeed immortal. Just a couple of her tips helped him get rid of the danger that lurked in his body. He would never have thought that it could be about impurities if he suddenly couldn't refine his cultivation anymore. Lu said other experts, compared to his past life, this world is filled with good people. But although there are so many online experts in this world, he is still a frog in a well compared to them. If he gets the favor of the Velvet Fairy, maybe he can find his place in this world. Lu decided he had to find the Velvet Fairy, so he immediately set off in search of the girl. It was already morning and he went down to the road. He thought this place was great, since there weren't many people here. We should use the internet somewhere and contact the Velvet Fairy. As Lu walked past people, he noticed a lot of strange things. People walking by were always looking at their phones. The guy was very much surprised that people use these things to watch videos. He kept walking and wondered if he could access the internet from it. But then a man approached him and asked if he wanted to try his luck. He only has to pay 1 yuan to participate. If he wins, he will get the phone for free. People hearing about the free phone for a few minutes stopped and asked, "Is this not a lie?" The guy told Lu that just 1 yuan, and he would get a phone worth several thousand. Even on Bing the chances of winning are higher than here. The woman also came up and said that the guy was right. Let him not fall for it. This man managed to scam people out of a lot of money in a month. The guy shouted at them that it was nonsense. They were just unlucky. He's an honest businessman with nothing to hide. Lu asked him if he could use the internet on this thing, the phone. The guy replied that with the phone, the whole world would be in his hands. Lu asked then if he wins, does he get one of those? The guy replied that's right. Let him pay 1 yuan and pull out the balloon with the special prize. If he succeeds, he would give him a new phone. Lu put the coin down and said he would give it a try. The guy replied that's fine then. And all he has to do is stick his hand in the drawer and pull out any ball. Lu immediately pulled out a red balloon and said this is the one. And then the guy started to say without opening the balloon that he lost, but he suddenly stopped and got a special prize. The boy was greatly distressed and could not believe such a thing. Lu realized that for his stage, seeing the contents of the balloon would be a piece of cake. It's much cheaper to pay 1 yuan and win a phone than to go to an internet cafe every time. Master only left him 2 books and some cash. One should spend money wisely. Lu asked the guy if he could tell him how to use it. How do you access the internet here? The guy asked if he needed a SIM card. And let him give him the cheapest one he has. Lu wandered around for a day, and when he saw the building he said that abandoned construction site the shopkeeper was talking about. It's usually deserted. It's the perfect place to shoot. He looked at the construction site and decided it was the right place for him. So he decided to make some videos. Lu moved off into the distance and began to use his possession abilities with the wind, setting up a huge whirlwind. The force was so great that he missed his balance and attacked the construction site behind him. But all of this was filmed on a cell phone. Lu didn't stop and continued to show off his abilities so that other experts would fall for it. After finishing everything, he said that he applied the purification technique that the Velvet Fairy taught him yesterday. Its effect is unbelievable. With the help of it, he was able to get rid of a huge portion of the impurities in his body. However, there were still impurities in his meridians, and he hopes online experts will share their experiences on how you can get rid of them for good. Guys already told me that this guy, who was answered by the goddess Dalia, has posted a new video. And it has awesome special effects. Lu read everything and asked, what's with the special effects? After all, that's his real power. It's been tons of time since he posted the video, and everyone keeps going on and on about these special effects. Not a single constructive comment so far. But then a notification came in that the Velvet Fairy had started a stream. Would he like to join in on the airwaves? Lu saw her name, rejoiced, and immediately accepted the agreement. Dalia greeted her audience. She said, all newcomers, have them remember to turn on their notifications. They will start today by announcing their sponsors. Lu looked at her and said she was amazing. Her stream already has over 10 million followers, and the likes have already reached 1 billion. How wonderful it would be to cultivate in a place as beautiful as this. Dalia was showing and saying it was an immortal fragrant tea, and her friend has picked only fresh tea leaves from the very top of the mountain. Thanks to a special processing technique, they are all guaranteed to have an unforgettable tea experience. Lu thought, who would have thought an expert like her would have to get into sales to make money? He thought she was living well. But who could afford to hire a Velvet Fairy? Lu counted his savings and said he didn't have enough money to buy her tea. Although he was more curious if she would be willing to give him advice again. The girl immediately shouted out to Dalia and said that last night's boyfriend was asking her something in the comments again. Dalia thought, what's happened again? Lately these psychotic cultivators have been getting too into character, and how to answer him. And then Dalia said congratulations, Lu Mo's follower. And she didn't expect him to succeed so quickly. However, she'll be busy for the next couple days, so if he wants, he can visit the park. There he'll find a group of Lu asked in surprise, Reverends? Do they all have incredible cultivation knowledge? Dalia said the Reverends go out there at 6 a.m., when the concentration of spiritual chi is at its peak and the violet chi has not yet awakened. Lu obeyed Dalia and came to the park. As he walked around, he said that even the air in this place was much cleaner than the city air, and so it's no surprise that the Velvet Fairy asked to come here for help. And then he noticed one of the old men practicing off to the side. He wondered if he was one of them. The guy saw that this old man's body was being subjected to blows from the tree without using spiritual chi. He must be a specialist of a school that practiced body purification. Lu saw someone moving on him, but in a moment one of the guys jumped into the water to swim while Lu was scared. Lu looked into the water and wondered. After all, the water was icy cold at this time of day. But this old man also didn't use spiritual chi and just dived in. He must be practicing using energy chi to gain enlightenment. Lu ran because he saw that this park is full of experts. We need to find someone who can help him with his breathing techniques. Lu looked at everyone and wondered, after all, these guys are all experts and have been practicing together since morning. Lu just couldn't believe this and gazing intently thought, what are they all doing? But then one of the old men turned to him and said that he had been watching him all this time. Since he was already here, why not sit down and talk to the old man? The old man saw that the guy wasn't responding and yelled that he was the one telling him. Lu turned around and asked, was that him telling him? Lu bowed and replied that the young man had acted ignorantly and insulted the elder, and he hoped that he could forgive him. The old man replied that it was all right. You might say that it was he who saw him first, for he had a keen eye. However, meeting here now, it must have been fate itself that brought them together. Lu thought about what he had said about the seeing eye, and then he remembered that he had probably discovered it with his spiritual perception. The old man is able to completely hide his spiritual perception from him. He must be 2 steps above him, if not more. Lu asked if he could find out the name of the senior Taoist. The old man immediately thought, has this youngster read too much fiction? Does he really have 8th grade syndrome? The old man replied that many years had passed, and the old man had completely forgotten his name. But he could call him Reverend Violet's son. Lu replied that the young man was glad to meet the Reverend. But can he find out what the Reverend does here? Did the old man think the young man wanted to play some more? So the old man decided he would play along. The old man replied that he was waiting for sunset to gather the most concentrated spiritual chi and essence of the sun and moon. Lu realized that the chi arising from the fusion of the sun and moon during sunset was incredibly mysterious. As an elemental stage Taoist, he couldn't even sense it, and this elder can easily not absorb. How good is his cultivation that he is capable of such a thing? Lu replied to the old man that the Reverend's cultivation was comparable to the heavens. A true immortal. The old man asked the young Taoist what brought him here so early in the morning. It was rare to see young people here lately. Lu replied to the elder that he didn't want to hide things from him. He had only recently reached the elemental stage, and 2 days ago, he received advice from an immortal fairy and learned that there was a hidden danger in his cultivation. The old man said that on his own, he would definitely not be able to solve this problem, but it would be no problem for him. Lu was surprised and asked, "Really?" The old man replied that he had some secret breathing techniques. It is a priceless treasure, but by fate itself, he will let him look at them. The old man asked the guy, "Does he want to get them?" Lu got excited and replied that of course he did. The old man said that since they were bound by fate, he assumed, against his wishes, he would still share them with him. But what could he give in return? Lu thought and realized that there is no free bread in this world. However, he only has 5 yuan. After he got the phone and bought the SIM card, he didn't have much money left, though he had encountered some of these names in the remaining records in the past world. He is sure that these guides are incredibly rare. If they made it into the remaining records after the apocalypse, they must be high-grade relics. He must get at least one. The old man asked, "What is he waiting for? Does he not wish to receive them?" Lu replied that he was poor and could only offer him this, and he hopes that the elder will be generous to him and accept such a pitiful offering. The old man got angry and told Lu that he had been playing along with him for so long, and he only gives him 5 yuan? Lu realized that this was the end. He pissed him off, and hopes that the elder will not kill him. The old man took the money and told him to forget about it. Since he liked them so much, he would sell him one. When Lu saw the book, he knew it was the Tao Te Ching. This is a legendary treasure. Even after the radiation had completely destroyed all the literary works in his past world, the name of the Tao Te Ching has not been forgotten by anyone. It must be a heavenly high-class manual. The guy started bowing and said that the young man was thanking him for showing him generosity, and may he accept a bow from him. Lu was overjoyed, for he realized that he had obtained a valuable treasure for only 5 yuan. Elder is a wonderful man. The old man said that today's young people know how to do all kinds of crap. He was just trying to con him out of money. Why did he make it so complicated? Darren told Dalia that yesterday's stream went great, and suggested we slow down today. Keep it simple and casual, just to socialize with the fans. Dalia replied that she understood. Dalia opened her broadcast and welcomed her viewers. She started reading the comments, and was very surprised. It turned out that the guy who started cultivating at 8 and reached elementary degree. The girl replied to her that she had already found his latest video. Here, let her watch it. Dalia saw the video and realized it was him. He uses just the palm of his hand to shake the building. Then the explosion caused a collapse. Even the rocks and bricks were shattered, but the special effects looked too realistic. So natural that she can't find a single flaw. The guy turned to Dalia and told her to stop staring at the video and say something already. Dalia replied to her viewers that she had just watched his video. The reason why the fellow cultivator was able to soar so much under her guidance was also because of his talent. But their order protects the unity of heaven and men, and there is a follower of Taoism wants to completely get rid of impurities. She would advise him to practice elemental Tao, through which he would achieve much better results. She also liked to recommend 3 changes to him. Unfortunately, the manuscripts of the change of season and the fortune-telling on the turtle's bones had already disappeared without a trace. The guy got excited and told Dalia that she said beautiful words. The popularity of their stream grew to 20 million views. The girl waved her hand and replied that they were the same ones talking about Dalia. In order to become a true cultivator, she had spent 2 years studying various cultivation novels. After closing the broadcast, Dalia pulled herself up and said she was very tired. The girl told her that they had a new viewing record again. Dalia said that this slow cultivator is a pretty busy guy. Who would have thought that they would gain such popularity because of him? The guy told her that they had conferred for a bit, and thought about collab with a slow cultivator. He has high-quality work, and it just so happens that her videos have good chemistry. What does she think of that? Dalia thought that guy's special effects were really great, quality-wise. Plus, he's handsome. All cultivation content creators are only trying to show off their power. They bet on sharp and unnecessary special effects for the sake of hype. And he has made a small breakthrough in cultivation, and is willing to share his minor skills, and is hoping for their advice. He will be very grateful to them. Dalia said that the slow cultivator used a publicity stunt, asking for driving and advice, then got the professionals interested. The guy replied that he would be interested in working with him too. If he wanted to, they could start running a new program with him. Lu was watching the broadcast, and upon hearing Dalia's words, he said that he already had the Tao Te Ching. But he understands absolutely nothing about this book. He opened the notebook and couldn't understand anything. He couldn't even read the words. He probably thought it was because he lacked the talent to understand such complex symbols. Lu resigned himself to it, and decided that he would try searching Miaodu. Maybe that way he would find some answers. Lu searched the internet, and said that the entire original text of the Tao Te Ching could even be found on Miaodu. The experts of this world are very generous. Lu decided to see what it said about the Tao in question. The boy was immediately transported to another world. He said that the Tao was limitless and cultivators were just passers-by. He had a narrow view of everything, focusing only on getting rid of impurities. You should have paid attention to your own Tao. He understood that the Tao is both tangible and intangible. It is the ever-changing chaos from which order is born. The Tao is omnipresent and infinite. And Tao is the beginning of everything, and is created from emptiness. Lu immediately began to cultivate his energy. After doing quite a bit of work, Lu began to absorb the bright light that traveled to part of his chest. The energy within him completely began to revive and transformed into a small baby. People were walking around at the time and suddenly asked why the sky had darkened so quickly. Useless people at the weather station, they said it would be clear weather. At this time the weather station was in a panic, and an employee was telling the director that this was some kind of anomaly, an unexpected change in atmospheric activity over the city. And a huge concentration of unknown energy appeared in the sky. The director responded that they should all not panic, let them continue to monitor the situation. And let them report any changes immediately. At this time, Lu didn't stop and continued to meditate, awakening his strong spirit within himself. Lu realized in his heart that this was undoubtedly a first-class manuscript. He was able to reach the 9th step at once after reading it all just once. His entire flesh was reconstructed, and his spiritual perception was enhanced tenfold. Even his body became half immortal, and he's practically stepped into a spiritual transformation. But then a warning came into the system. The director was surprised and asked how was this possible? The guy replied that the atmospheric pressure, the intensity of ultraviolet radiation, and the radiation level had jumped dramatically. What the hell is going on? At this time, one of the reporters saw it all and said who would have thought he could capture such a sight. When he went to photograph the ruins, the reporter checked his phone and seeing the comments said they thought he posted a fake. How can something like that even be faked? The reporter decided to go live and was saying that right now he was in Fangshan district at an abandoned old construction site. Immediately his phone showed that his connection had been cut off. He was getting very angry and asked why there was no signal. He started to consider and asked, when did it get so dark? He was very frightened by this situation. The guy was telling the director that they lost the signal from their satellites. Also, all their danger sensors went off. The director saw everything in the picture and asked, is this the end of the world? At this time, Lu continued to meditate without realizing that everyone was watching him. He sent energy from his powers into the sky, causing the city to darken, but the white light was only visible from one place. Dalia was in the bathtub at the time, relaxing. A girl came in and told her that they had an accident. Dalia asked that it was so serious that they couldn't even knock. The girl replied that there was something wrong near the old construction site. There's some kind of pillar of light in the sky, as happens in all those cultivation novels. Many people post pics and posts with this phenomenon. And all the pics are taken from different angles, so it's hardly a fake. Dalia looked up and said, what an unusual natural phenomenon. Had she ever seen multicolored flashes in the sky? Black clouds thickened in the sky. And she wondered, which Taoist had caused such a calamity? When did it happen? It's not far from them, is it? The girl replied that it's going on right now. She can look out the window. It's all freaking her out. Dalia immediately ran out of the bathroom covering herself to see everything with her own eyes. The girl screamed for her to stop. Dalia immediately looked out the window and saw everything with her own eyes. She couldn't believe it. Dalia, to come to her senses, started groping the girl. The girl asked her why she was groping her. Dalia replied that she wanted to make sure she was awake. The girl asked Dalia, what if this calamity was really the work of a cultivator? Dalia turns to Zhang and says she says it's happening somewhere at an old construction site? There's no mountain there? Zhang replied that's right, there is Yuqing Mountain nearby. It is deadly dangerous there, and there have been many incidents because of it. Zhang asked her where she was going. Dalia replied that they were going to take a closer look. At this time, the streamer girl was thanking for the rocket, a flawless pure yang. She likes her a lot. The old man watched her and cheered and said it was all for her. But then the servant ran in and said it was no time to sit on the phone. After all, something strange is happening on Yuqing Mountain. Someone has summoned a huge pillar of light in the sky. The master hit the servant with a mop and said he was only wasting his time training him. What's with this pillar of light? Tell him to stop reading fantasy novels and do some real science. The so-called pillar of light refers to a phenomenon that causes a cultivator who is about to reach the spirit transformation realm. The tribulation clouds were generated by the heavens and the earth, and they also symbolize the will of the earth. If a mortal wishes to ascend, first she must pass the test of the will of the earth, which takes the form of a pillar of light. But there are no cultivators in the modern world. The boy replied that something strange was indeed going on there. The gentleman started waving his mop and told him to think about it already. Just let him be a diligent citizen and do useful things for society. Lu breathed and realized that he was very close to the soul transformation realm, but he still didn't have enough foundation yet. It was better not to enter the soul transformation realm for now, but to suppress one's cultivation and calm one's body. And then Lu decided he would suppress his cultivation to the fourth step, and then using the excess spiritual qi to calm the body. And so the guy started accumulating his qi. Lu didn't realize that everyone was watching him and continued to do his thing. Energy surged into the sky again. Lu didn't stop there, and continued to accumulate his qi. He began to transform into a monster, and his eyes lit up with a bright light. Lu came to his senses and said that he had descended to the fourth step of the innate realm, but his body had become stronger, and now that he had his cultivation manuals, it was worth searching through them for martial arts or dermic spells to learn. Lu opened his phone and saw that he had no internet. It seemed strange to him. Why was there no signal? Lu got a text message and he realized he had spent all the money on his phone. But if he doesn't have internet, he won't be able to contact the experts. The guy realized he had no choice but to go back to the mountain and try to sell something there. 12 years ago, Dalia and her family went to MT. Mal was worried and yelled at her not to run away. The girl's father said they'd been up for the second hour. It's true what they say, children have an endless supply of energy. Dalia replied to her parents that everything was fine, don't let them worry. And then she saw a butterfly off to the side and she liked it very much. Dalia crossed the fence without fear and tried to reach the butterfly that stood at the foot of the mountain. Her parents freaked out in the moment and yelled at her to step back. Dalia didn't realize it was dangerous, and reaching out to the butterfly she fell off the mountain. The parents were scared really bad and screamed for someone to help them. Her daughter had fallen off a cliff. Dalia pitched at this time, but then one of the men caught her and was fast enough to take her in midair. It was a guy in white clothes. He put her down next to a rock, and with his fingers pressed on Dalia's head to make her fall asleep. 4 hours later, the rescue team found her without a single abrasion. Everyone was shocked by this and wrote it off to her luck, but she knew that an immortal had saved her back then. There are definitely cultivators in this world. She must find the one who saved her life and thank him properly. Dalia asked Zhang, was she listening to anything? Zhang replied that it sounded like thunder. But the clouds are parting. Dalia asked the guy to stop the car. She got out and said it looked like they were too late. Since the clouds are slowly parting, they won't be able to get there in time to film everything. Zhang said it was getting late, and the forest on the mountain was full of wild animals. Shouldn't they give up? Dalia thought that if there really was an immortal on Mount Yunqing, then something like this was bound to happen again. When the time came, she would find him. Just let him wait for her. Dalia had already taken it all in as she suddenly told Zhang to look at the old abandoned construction site. Does this place look familiar to her? I think she's seen it somewhere before. Zhang said that this construction site was abandoned a long time ago. It's just the rubble of buildings. Dalia got on her phone and said she remembered. This is the same building that guy destroyed in the video. She showed Zhang and asked, isn't this it? It looks exactly like it. Zhang took a closer look and replied that it was true. It's the same place. She has an idea. They can videotape this construction site and use programs to rebuild it back up, and then you can use this video if they cooperate with the slow cultivator. Dalia said she could, but would she be able to contact him? Zhang replied that they weren't even sure if he would want to cooperate with them. Although judging from his video, it seems like he wouldn't mind working with her. Dalia said that if it came to that, we should show their sincerity. First that, then everything else. Lu brought his old veti, and the old man gave him 20 yuan. Lu asked, only 20? How so? Because there are more than 100 kilograms of junk. How can it only cost 20 yuan? The old man answered him not to think he was trying to fool him. But what would an old man like him do with this block of stone? Yes, there is a lot of garbage, but not all of it can be recycled. Lu understood and was saddened by how difficult it was to get money for himself in this world. He immediately went to the store and was told to pay 18 yuan. Lu was surprised and asked what? The money he had earned with blood and sweat would go to his phone balance. And how easily money goes away in this world. When he opened his phone, he received a message. Lu was surprised, because he had just topped up his balance, and he already had a new message. Lu saw that the Velvet Fairy had transferred the money to him. He couldn't believe that she had sent him 500 yuan. He said that the Velvet Fairy's generosity knew no bounds. He thanked her for this gift he needed so much. Not only does she help mentor him, but she saved him from poverty. Someday he will repay her for everything. But the Velvet Fairy didn't leave him alone and wrote another message. Lu was surprised that the Velvet Fairy was asking to be in a video with her. Does she really want to make a video of her teaching him? This is the chance that God himself sent him. Lu agreed and said that since he was going to meet the Velvet Fairy herself, he should prepare a small gift. I wonder what she likes. And then he happened upon a video of an old man making pills that were being thrown out of a cauldron at a moment's notice. The old man said that this pill called Return to the Source was handed down to him by his ancestors. Taking it would fill his chi and invigorate his body and spirit. Have them take a pill 3 times a day for 2 weeks. It is guaranteed to fill them with energy. Only now they can purchase one pill at a low price. 300 yuan. Lu got excited and said that's it. He could give the Velvet Fairy a couple of these pills. Lu decided to write to this guy and see if he had any pills. The guy thought at this time, what's wrong with this slow cultivator? Most people write to him to buy these pills, and this guy wants to buy a stove to make them? Why is he communicating like an old man obsessed with Taoism? The guy asked him if he wished to buy a stove and not pills. Lu replied that he did. He would like to buy a furnace. Does he sell such things? The guy said he's been doing this for years, and constantly met people wanting to buy pills or make returns. He's even fallen for scammers more often than not, but someone wanting to buy a furnace? That's the first time that's ever happened. A couple years ago, he bought this junk at a flea market for only 50 yuan. Although this thing is quite old and massive, I have to admit, it's great for making videos. And to be honest, he's Chin Wei, a very ordinary herbalist with a superficial knowledge of medicine. If his son hadn't taught him how to make videos, he would never have earned his popularity as an immortal. Lu was worried at this time. After all, it doesn't take long to answer. Could it be that he doesn't want to sell it? Most likely. The pill-making furnace is a precious tool for an alchemist. The guy replied that he could only sell it for 500 yuan. Lu read this message and said that it was almost free. Lu chatted with him about delivery, and told him that this elder was not only willing to sell the furnace for nothing, but also to deliver it to him. The far north is thousands of kilometers away from here. Even if he flew his sword at full speed, it would take him at least 3 days. Although he could deliver it to him as early as tomorrow, Lu said that it was too good a deal. One must be on guard. He definitely surpasses him in cultivation. If he has evil intentions, he should be ready for it. Lu told the guy what and how and where he was and sent him 500 yuan directly, and then lamented that he only had 2 yuan left. The morning the delivery guy came to the guy and asked if he wanted to send something. The guy replied, here's the package, and as for the address, have him leave it at the place he specified. Maybe just dump it there if no one comes for it. The next day at Yuqing Mountain, the letter carrier was worried and said, who sends 30 to 40 kilograms of some metal garbage to the mountain anyway? He can't even pick up other packages on the way. He's gonna lose money on this delivery. Took out the box and said he finally made it. He almost busted his back dragging that shit in here. He immediately dialed the recipient, but he didn't pick up. The guy was saying, "What kind of idiot would come here for this junk?" But he doesn't care. He's lying in a deserted place. There's hardly anyone strong enough to steal the box. Time to go back. Lou had been watching the whole time and said he was finally gone. He immediately went down and saw that there was a furnace inside. Lou broke open the box and lifted the stove and said it was not bad. 35 kilograms, the material is dense and quite strong. The guy completely didn't leave and was greatly surprised by what he saw. He came to the person in charge and said that he had seen something amazing today. It was about the box that was to be delivered to Yuqing Mountain. He left it under a banyan tree and came to the car, but he was worried about the package and decided to return. Let him see what he filmed. There was a guy carrying that metal thing like a feather. The chief replied that it was still nothing compared to what he had seen. Did he remember the strange incident a few days ago? Back then, he was delivering an order near Yuqing Mountain. He looked up and saw a man floating in the sky. The boy didn't believe it and asked Mr. Wang, wasn't he trying to play a joke on him? Wang said he was telling him that there was something wrong with Yuqing Mountain. Many tycoons have tried to develop those mountains, but they have failed every time. The guy remembered and said to confirm the delivery. And then the guy got a message that the package had arrived. They even sent a video report. The guy seeing the video couldn't believe how he had so much strength to carry that heavy thing like that. And then the guy decided he could use it. Without thinking, he decided to upload it to his channel to gain views. He got excited and said that this video would definitely bring a crowd of gawkers to him who would want to buy his pills. And then a message came to the guy that his account was suspected of selling fake drugs and was blocked. Lou immediately put the furnace into action and started cultivating. He felt that it was an amazing furnace. The furnace opened its lid and Lou said he had succeeded. With medicinal herbs from the mountain and similar instructions for the furnace that the elder had sent him, he could very likely create pills using pure internal energy. And if he finds more recipes and time to practice, I'm sure he'll be able to create the highest ranked pills of the 9th revolution. And the time will finally come when he won't have to worry about money anymore. He thought it was right and said he would have to ask the white-haired elder about the new formulas. Perhaps he could teach him a few, but Lou opened his platform and saw that the account was locked. He was surprised and asked what it meant, but then he received an incoming call from the Velvet Fairy. Lou was greatly surprised and didn't understand how it was so. Lou decided that he would talk to her. Dalia told the slow cultivator that welcome to their broadcast. Lou replied in return that he welcomed the Velvet Fairy. And he was extremely grateful for her helpful advice. Without her, he would never have been able to make such a breakthrough in cultivation. Dalia said she shouldn't be so courteous. As long as they have faith in each other, sharing advice is commonplace for her. But could she find out where he was currently residing? Lou thought, why would the Velvet Fairy be interested in this? He shouldn't reveal his location to all these people. Otherwise, he would definitely get into trouble. Lou replied that he considers the 4 oceans his home and often travels to other lands. He arrived at Yuqing Mountain a couple of days ago, and plans to stay here for a while. Dalia said she knew it. And sure enough, that's where he shot his videos. She saw the building he destroyed when she got to Yuqing Mountain. Sure, it's great that he's making all these videos, but you shouldn't destroy someone else's property. But don't let him worry, she can help him rebuild it. Lou asked, isn't this the place from the video where he destroyed the building? Does the Velvet Fairy already know where he is? Dalia immediately put her hand up and used her magic. She slowly began to set everything back up with her powers. Lou said, this is unbelievable. The Velvet Fairy has reached at least the Tribulation realm. She has amazing control over spiritual energy. Lou said that she was endowed with incredible power. Let her accept his admiration. Dalia immediately realized that this guy was really different from the others. Handsome, elegant, and the aura of an immortal emanated from him like that. And then praise opened in front of him, and he realized that he too wished to express his gratitude, but was now miles away. But he already owes the Velvet Fairy a big debt. It would be rude if he wasn't the only one not supporting her now. Lou went to the donate section, and clicked on sending 15 cans of Coke. He said he knew it wasn't enough. But even that money was a lot of work for him. Dalia was quite surprised and thought, shouldn't he be on the money, making such quality videos? But it seemed to her that the guy was lying. Dalia tells him that the quality of his special effects is impressive. She figures they're out of whack for how much he spends on all this. And she understands why he's saving money. Wouldn't he want to join her team and help with video processing? He can make new content easier with them. Can she find out what programs he uses to create special effects? Lu asked, surprised. Special effects? What is she talking about? He just goes into the app, presses record, then stops and loads it. Dalia asked, is that it? The guy replied, sure. She thought, this guy doesn't really seem to want to work with anyone. Judging by his tone, he'd be hard to convince. Lu said that, honestly, he owed her a lot, because she had helped him in so many ways. He had been thinking about how he could repay her for a long time, so he decided to create his own pill and give it to the Velvet Fairy. Dalia was surprised and asked, really? Lu replied that, however, he had only recently started studying Tao alchemy. He had all the necessary ingredients and a special furnace, but lacked the formulas to create the pills. Could she teach him how to make rank 1 medicines? He would do his best to excel at making them, and he would repay her for everything. Dalia was surprised, because usually she was asked to dance, sing, or play a game. But who the hell asks for recipes to make medicine? Lu asked, are these deep purifications of the soul? He had read about them in the manual the elder had sent her. The pills are divided into 9 ranks, and deep soul purification is considered the best rank 9 medicine. The guy approached the gentleman and said that he's been watching this live broadcast for the 2nd hour. But isn't it time for him to get back to work? The guy told him again that if he didn't stop, he'd report to the top that he'd blabbed the prescription for the cure on the broadcast and the Velvet Fairy. Does he even know he's breaking their clan's rules right now? The master got angry and asked, how dare he? He is sharing his innermost knowledge with the younger generation. The guy says that since he's sharing his knowledge with them, shouldn't they thank him? Why is he the only one sending rockets to the Velvet Fairy? But surely it's okay to share their formula on a live broadcast like this. Mr. asked what could go wrong. The Lord replied that deep soul purification is almost impossible to prepare. Even professional alchemists do not undertake them. If anyone on the broadcast succeeds in making them, he'll go nuts and acknowledge that one as his master. The master asked, what about the investigation of that incident at Yuqing Mountain? The guy replied that he tried to gather information until he hit a dead end. Everyone claimed that it was just a natural phenomenon, but he definitely felt a spiritual power in that area at that time. And he believes it could have been caused by someone who was trying to cross through the Tribulation area. The gentleman punched him and said, how many more times do I have to tell him that there are no cultivators in the world? They are men of science and believe only in science. Let him go, and reread 3 volumes of elementary physics. The boy covered his ears and replied that the gentleman knows better, and is always right. At this time, Lu spent all his time working on creating the pill. He repeated that the fruit of Soyuanming had been extracted, the dew of Qingmin had also been extracted, the 1,000-year-old Highlander had been extracted. He realized that he had already gotten more than 10 kinds of ingredients, and added them to the furnace. There was only one step left, but it would be the hardest. Lu immediately used all his abilities and shouted for the pill to take its form. In a moment, Lu was scared and didn't realize what was happening. He opened the lid and saw that he finally could. Lu took the pill and said that the pill immediately melted upon entering his mouth, turning into a homogeneous mass. He can feel the heat spreading through his body as the liquid enters his throat. There is the elusive sensation of being burned by cold fire, and it must be this pill that cleanses his body of pollution. But the effect is a bit weak. He doesn't think that an expert from the Velvet Fairy Elder Stream would lie to him, unless there's a problem with the formula. And the formula of a pill is something that masters spend hundreds of years of research to create. Judging by the theory in the pill manual that the formula master had given him, there was no problem with the formula. The formula was perfect, Lu said, and the ingredients were right. But he was able to create a pill with 30% of the described healing power. He thinks it could be considered a failure, and spiritual qi can act as a vessel to penetrate the therapeutic effects into the bones and bloodstream. It can also help to combine the opposite therapeutic effects of Qiang flower and Xianming fruit. Lu said that according to the pill manual, he can not only influence spiritual qi, he should also influence the power in the pill, so the effect of the pill can enhance. The guy decided he had to give it a try, and immediately started using his skills to do what he wished. He would first coat the extracts with a layer of spiritual chi, and then add some mental power to them. In this way, he would be able to marinate the healing powers with his strength. Lu continued to work on it for a long time that even the smoke of the bowls spread all over the mountain. The weatherman turned to Director Li and said that their instruments had detected another strange phenomenon over Yuqing Mountain. There is a thick fog covering its summit. Li replied that they hadn't even figured out how the phenomenon happened a few days ago. How did another anomaly appear? Li asked the boy to keep a close eye on it. He would contact the management immediately. The guy replied that he would. Lu still continued to sit in front of the bowl to finally finish what he started, and finally spread his fingers apart, and used the absorption technique. At the moment of preparation, there was a large explosion that looked like a volcanic eruption. The journalist had been sitting in the mountains all this time, and when he saw this he said that this is it. He hadn't spent the last few days camping for nothing. Li shouted for him to fully increase the fire, and the light of his flames rose into the sky, causing the entire city to be illuminated. Over time, the fire turned into a dragon, which consumed every last bit of this city. The journalist saw it all with his own eyes and asked, "What is this? Is it an azure dragon and a white tiger?" The man in the office was telling Director Li to just keep a close eye on the phenomenon, and let him know immediately of any changes. He ordered his man to get the helicopter ready. They set off on a journey to Yuqing Mountain. Lu had done a lot of work, and had finally reached the form stage. He couldn't stop because he needed to finish it all. The guy labored for so long that all the sweat from his body was falling to the ground. Finally he managed it, and said it worked. Lu opened the bowl and taking the pill felt as if there was an ocean of spiritual chi in this pill. Lu gobbled down the pill and felt a powerful wave of cold fire gently flowing down his throat before spreading through his bloodstream. This was dozens of times stronger than his last attempt. Lu said he knows this furnace is a first-class product. He had seen it in the stream. But to think it can improve the quality so much, he underestimated the device. But it's still not perfect, and he thinks his strength is still low. But what if he increases the concentration of spiritual and mental power? After all, the pill he had absorbed now had restored some of his spiritual power, so it was okay to give it another try. The gentleman was looking at his phone and decided to see if they had enough money for expenses if he donated another rocket. And then the guy turned to the foreman and said that a helicopter was flying in their direction. The foreman asked in surprise, "A helicopter? Why is it here again?" The guy replied that he was talking about Director Wu of the Bureau of Supernatural Investigation. If they're here to find him, they must be missing something again. Master said that they were cultivators, and were responsible for helping the world when something supernatural happened. The boy asked, "What kind of responsibility? Wasn't the master just working on the street, making a living by palm fortune-telling for young ladies before meeting Director Wu? Didn't he care about money too? He just wanted to hold the hands of young ladies. After he got hooked on the Dalia stream, he spent all the grant money from Dr. Wu on donations, making their already poor sect fall even lower. The master punched him and said he sheltered him and raised him for 17 years. Not only does he not listen to his instruction, but he tries to teach him." The guy replied that the master had spent all the money that was for his dowry on live broadcasts. How will he get married now? The master says he's never even held a girl's hand. Does he think he'll ever get engaged? The boy asked, wasn't he the one who said that if he touched their hand, he would have to marry them? The master replied to stop talking nonsense. Principal Wu has arrived. So the helicopter landed in their area and the master came out to meet Dr. Wu and said it had been a long time. Wu turned to Daosher and replied that it had been a long time ago. He said that another phenomenon had appeared over Yongqing Mountain that they could not explain. He hoped they could accompany them there. Daosher asked in surprise, "Yuqing Mountain?" And then the guy interrupted the master and said he knew where it was. The guy asked, "What's that expert again? The one who brought the tribulation upon himself?" The master immediately hit him over the head with a mop. Daosher turned to Fu Gui. "How many times must I tell him that they must believe in science?" Fu grabbed his head and replied that he understood. Wu told Daosher that he would tell him more about the situation on the way. It was time to move on. The journalist was live streaming and asked, "Are they seeing this?" All 4 guardians of the beast appeared in the sky. It's broadcasting directly from Yuqing Mountain. This is a live broadcast, and there are no special effects at all. He swears on his life, it's not special effects. Wu showed Daoshi and told him to watch it. This is the latest video from Mount Yuqing. The person who filmed it is live streaming everything that is happening. Daoshi asked if he was sure it wasn't the usual special effects. Wu replied that this is not the only video. You can find many photos and videos from different sources, with different angles. They can't all be made using the same special effects. The meteorological station observing MT Yuqing also recorded electromagnetic fluctuations, similar fluctuations to another phenomenon that occurred 3 days ago. What is the fragrance of the pills coming from? Daoshi asked. What is the fragrance of the pills coming from? Daoshi opened the door and said it was impossible. He could smell the thick fragrance of the pills all the way. What level of pill should a pill be to spread such a powerful odor? Daoshi told the pilot to increase his speed. After all, they need to go there. He wishes to take a look at it. Wu ordered everyone to sit still and ordered the pilot that they were flying full speed ahead. Fu turned to the teacher and said that 4 guardian beasts had appeared in the sky. Daoshi said at this time, the fragrance became even stronger. Let them not tell him that these beasts appeared because someone was manufacturing pills, but he never caused anything like that when he cleared the pills. Dalia was saying at that time that she was ending the live broadcast. Dalia had received information that there were 4 guardian beasts on Yuqing Mountain. Could it be that Immortal is there again? Lu was using the absorption technique at this time. And then, he used the formation technique. The fire completely engulfed Yuqing Mountain. But Lu didn't stop there and kept working. Lu fell to the ground after finishing the procedure, and said that creating this pill had taken 90% of his spiritual power. He would have experienced a negative reaction if the pill had been more effective. He pulled himself up and holding his head firmly behind his head kept saying what he thought. Even a cleansing pill could be dangerous. It's a good thing he made it. Daoshi was on his way to Mount Yuqing and said that it was really the source of these phenomena. Something serious must have happened there. Lu looked at the pill and said that this pill is only for extending a person's life by 100 years. It is completely useless for those who are already at the congenital stage, and he really doesn't seem to have a talent for alchemy. But this time, he got unexpected benefits from the purification process, and having comprehended the Tao De last time, he suddenly broke through to the 9th step of the innate realm. At that time, his foundation was still lacking, but he suppressed his cultivation to stage 4 to temper his body. But after feeling this pill, his spiritual energy seeped into his muscles and bones, and now he was back to stage 1. But also because of that, he could now feel that his aura was absolutely flawless. He can store twice as much spiritual energy as before. He feels that his mental strength has increased by almost 10 times. Lu came out and shouted that this was indeed an unexpected gain, but Lu saw that the energy had consumed the entire mountain and thought that it didn't take him long to process the pills. When did these trees and bushes appear here? He immediately saw the red bird of the south, the black turtle of the north, the azure dragon of the east, and the white tiger of the west. These are the 4 gods. He had read, of course, in the ancient records handed down to him by the master that the appearance of 4 gods was a sign of great good fortune. He doesn't know why such a heavenly phenomenon would appear here. He should try to cultivate as much as possible. Daoshi thought that he had stepped onto the path of cultivation decades ago. But compared to ancient times, the spiritual qi of the modern world had degraded to the point where it was hard to find someone with true cultivation. However, 3 days ago, the pillar of light descended near Mount Yuqing was clearly a heavenly tribulation caused when a high-level cultivator was ready to break through. But as for the phenomena right now, it's a sign that a pill of the highest quality is being prepared. It means that there is definitely a real cultivator on Yuqing Mountain right now. It wasn't just a cultivator, it might be an immortal. If he could meet with him, he might be able to achieve a breakthrough in his cultivation if he gave him some sort of guidance. Daoshi felt that the spiritual qi here was too dense, and the closer he got, the denser it got. This must be the immortality pill. Lu stopped, and felt that someone was here. And it was a cultivator too. Daosha ran and said that one breath of this thick spiritual qi was enough to fill his old bones with so much energy. And he can even feel the impurities in his body slowly cleansing with each breath. Compared to the healing effect of the pill flavor alone, its decades of cultivation are like dog water. He wondered if the immortal would agree to let him take it if he shamelessly begged him for it. Daosha tripped over a rock and without keeping his balance fell to the ground from the happiness he wished he had. Lu felt that the cultivator was rushing towards him. He was in the realm of foundation construction. It must be someone who was attracted by the appearance of the four guards. The experts of this world are righteous and generous, completely different from his previous world. Lu thought he should forget about it. He needs to leave a portion for the person coming here. Lu said that he would absorb some of the spiritual qi to improve his cultivation and give the rest to the mountain and the creatures on it. Lu opened his arms and shouted for him to get up. The energy immediately spread throughout the entire mountain. Daosha went to the spot and said that spiritual qi was going to this pillar of light. Lu didn't stop and started to apply his energy on everyone. The journalist at the time looked at it and said it was too beautiful. The opportunity to capture something like that. His decision to become a videographer. Daosha said that such thick and pure spiritual qi, just a breath, equaled his years of cultivation work. But what kind of person has such an ability to summon dense and pure spiritual qi to cover a mountain? Must be a frightening expert. Lu asked, wondering how this fellow Daosha had found his way here. Daosha realized that he was here. Daosha replied that this humble man's name was Chun Yang. He didn't want to disturb the elder, and hoped that he could forgive him. Lu thought immediately that the name sounded so familiar. Well, at least he's being polite to him. Lu told him to be calm, but what was he doing here? Daosha saw that it didn't look like the expert was angry. Daosha replied that this junior dared to ask to which clan or sect did the senior belong. Lu thought, what other kind? If he made it clear that he had no support, wouldn't he be taken advantage of? Lu replied that his teacher had long ago separated himself from the mortal world and did not like to meddle in worldly affairs. He was not comfortable giving him his name. Daosha was surprised. After all, this expert's strength is at the zenith of the entire earth. But he really has a master? What is the level of a master? Lu asked him, is he from a sect? Daosha replied that cultivation sects are sublime and detached. He has no talent, and he hasn't joined any sect. He is just a wandering cultivator. This junior had seen the phenomenon caused by the appearance of the immortal treasure near Mount Yuqing. So he came here to try his luck. Lu replied that he didn't recall seeing an immortal treasure. There is nothing here. Daosha said that he understood everything. But he also understood that this expert could hide his appearance from his sight and spiritual sense. His cultivation must be enormous. Lu asked if any other cultivators had come here. Daosha replied that this junior was lucky and was passing by when this phenomenon appeared. He also didn't see any other cultivators on the way here. This junior is talentless, and has only gotten to the foundation construction realm. He thought that he was already the strongest in his generation, but today, the elder opened his eyes. The elder's body creates a feeling of merging with space. The spiritual aura is soft and juicy, but shining like the sun, just like the innate condition described in the Tao Te. I wonder if Senior could also give him some advice on this topic. Lu thought that even a cultivator in the foundation construction field said that he was a Tao Te cultivator. He thought it was important since he could even find the full version. Lu said it's a technique that anyone can use. It's nothing mysterious. They just have to clear their minds and feel the great Tao. Daosha cheered and said what Senior meant. But Lu realized that ordinary people now was not the right time, and he would keep them away. And then Daosha heard Bu Yang's helicopter arrive. But Lu had already started handing him the pills. Daosha tried to stop them and tell them they were stupid and should get out of here. Lu immediately used the fog technique and aimed at the helicopter. Daosha was surprised and didn't see that the elder was very strong. The pilot was telling the director that they were surrounded by thick fog. Their electronics are also experiencing interference. He can't tell if there are any obstacles near the helicopter. And now they're too fast toward the mountains. They might crash if they fly around haphazardly. Wu ordered the pilot to maintain that position and hover in place. The pilot replied that it would be done. Fu realized that this white mist was created from spiritual qi. It shrunk to a vaporous state, and completely engulfed the helicopter. This level isn't something a master can do. This is a true cultivator. It's an immortal. There's an immortal on Yuqing Mountain. Daosher turned to the elder and told him to forgive them. Those inside the helicopter are his disciple and people. He brought them here. They don't know the rules and without malice. Let him punish him instead of them for not learning them properly. Lu was surprised and asked his people? And thought, can a cultivator at such a low stage teach disciples? Lu asked, are they without evil intentions? Daosher replied, not at all. He will take them away right now. He will not reveal the existence of the elder. He begs him not to kill them. Lu replied that they would start by saying that he had no intention of killing them. There's just no need to flaunt the fact that he's here, okay? And it was better not to cause trouble and cultivate peacefully. Daosher replied that Junior understood everything. Lu said he created a mold inside the mountain. Ordinary people will no longer be able to enter this place. Let him remember not to turn back as he walks away or else he will be trapped inside. Doshi replied that he understood, and he thanked the elder for his generosity. Lu applied force and dispersed the fog. The pilot told the director that the fog cleared and the helicopter recovered its instruments, but they are too close to the ground, and there is still a thick fog hiding the mountains. Wu orders that he increase the altitude, and they will wait for Daosher there. Daosher asked the older one if the younger one could dare to ask another question. This humble man had never met a cultivator as strong as him. Cultivation is difficult and lonely. If the younger one is ever faced with a question, can the older one help him a little? He realized that he might never meet anyone of this level again. He must try and get this opportunity, even if he had to beg for it. And then Lu replied that he would help. Taoists help each other. It's as natural as the Great Tao. If they have any questions, just come to the foot of Yuqing Mountain. And yet he hoped they would not spread it, as he would like to cultivate in the world. Daosher said that this humble man understands. And many thanks to the elder for such help. Daosher left telling the older man that he had met a true immortal. And that's when he sneaked in his helicopter. Daosher told them if they didn't want to die, let them get out of here right now. In another world at this time, a boy shouted to his older brother that there were still immortals in this world. The guy immediately handed him the fire leaf. The elder told him to hand it straight to him. Lu sighed, for they had finally left. But whoever sent this cultivator here, now that his whereabouts had been revealed, he should be more vigilant. Lu opened his phone and saw that he had 4 messages. But for the past 2 days, he had trouble clearing pills. I wonder if there is any advice on the internet about this. But who was texting him so much? He opened the messages and saw that Dalia had lost him. He answered her and asked if she needed him. Dalia saw the messages and said what took so long. She already thought he'd hit his head while cultivating and launched himself into heaven, but she has to go to the capital, and then she can make an appointment with him. Lu said that even a professional like her has to roll on the broadcasts to sell things. It's not easy to make money. Lu thought that although his pills didn't help the Velvet Fairy's cultivation, they could still satiate and restore her spirit. Lu asked her if she could send him her address, because he had a present for her. Dalia was surprised and decided to write at the city 123. Jia told Dalia that it seemed they were late again. The apparition had already disappeared. Should we go anyway? Dalia replied so she would forget. During the night of the broadcast, she was tired and offered to go home to rest. Jia said she wondered who had the idea to drive there to see the phenomenon. And now that it's gone, workers like her have to work overtime to drive her home. Dalia replied that she did a good job. And she's going to ask the studio to give her a raise when she gets back. Jia replied that that was better. She finally said something she wanted to hear. Lu went to the post office and said it should be delivered to Mo's City, Jean River District, House 123 Jean Embankment to the 14th floor. The master said it would cost 15 yuan. Lu realized that he only had 2 yuan and replied that the recipient would pay. Lu walked out of there and heard his phone ringing again. When he opened it, he saw that his account could become their partner and receive rewards. Lu rejoiced and said that he could now trade online like Senior Velvet Butterfly and that white-haired immortal old man. He thought it was great. After all, he had just finished a batch of pills, and he could sell them and make money. But how much would he sell them for? He realized that the formula was not his and it was given to him for free. The stove cost 500, but that was very cheap. You could consider it a donation from the old man. And the herbs he gathered in the mountains, he can make 10 pills from them. And if you do the math, he thinks 100 yuan is not a bad price. At this time, one of the guys got a notice and saw that they were selling a pill for 100 yuan. I could tell there was some kind of scam. He said that people selling immortality pills and claiming that it is a panacea that can grant them immortality are definitely scammers. The guy pondered for a long time and decided to buy, and said it was only 100 yuan. Compared to how much he spent in trying to cultivate, it's a small thing. Zhao walked into Dalia's room and asked if she was ready. It's time to get to the studio, they'll be starting soon. And she also picked up a package from the receptionist. Dalia asked what was paid for at the front desk. She hadn't ordered anything. Dalia read it, and said the shipping address is a great banyan tree. What the heck is this nonsense? Jia wondered if it might be from a fan. Why not open it, and see what's inside? Dalia replied that she has gotten different things from fans, but this is the first time she has to pay for shipping. Dalia opened the package and Zhao was surprised to ask her what it was. It was a package from Lu. The girls smelled her, and said she smelled so good. It's like she woke up after a good night's sleep. And then, I had a hearty and delicious meal. And then she had a massage and a spa. Energy flowing through her body. It's like she's being purified from the inside out. All her pores are open to absorb just a little more of this fragrance. Dalia immediately shut it down, and said a bit suspiciously, "Better put it away for now." Xia asked what it was. Dalia replied that she didn't know, but she could tell it was something unusual, and offered to close it for now. She told her to have them go to the studio. The broadcast would start soon, and she could put it in her drawer for now. The mailman knocked on the guy's door the next morning, and told him his package had been delivered. The guy asked, "Do I have to pay for the delivery? What kind of seller is this?" The guy opened the box and asked, "What the hell is this stuff? Is it just a plastic ball?" Again with the deception. The guy couldn't stand it, and threw it on the floor shouting that let all these cultivators go. And he'd had enough of the cheaters. The guy immediately started writing a review that the seller was a cheat. But what an idiot he is for falling for it again. The guy yelled that he didn't care about it from this day forward. And who needs cultivation anyway? I'd rather spend my money on women and alcohol. But the dog tried to tell him something, but the guy wouldn't listen and walked away. He immediately sniffed the pill and ate it. By 12 a.m., Dalia walked into the room saying that she was finally done with the broadcast. But what happened to the room? She thought, where is this fog coming from? And it smells so good. She immediately started sniffing and said the smell was coming from the table. When she opened the box, she saw that it was that package. She took it in her hands and felt like she wanted to eat it. Dalia thought that little Jia had already left, so no one would know if she just tried it. Yes. It wouldn't do anything from just once. She couldn't resist it, and immediately sent the pill straight to her mouth. It had been 5 minutes since she'd taken it. Dalia is light and said she got a big scare when it melted in her mouth. And it didn't seem to make any difference. What was she so worried about? She said she needed to sleep, because she had to get up early tomorrow. She closed her eyes and found herself in another world. She agonized all night, and said her heart was beating so fast, she was in so much pain. At night, a guy and his friend were out for a car ride. The guy turned to his brother Kyle, because he had always been interested in cultivation. What did he think about those 4 creatures? Kai replied that it was probably someone else's trick. Cultivation and immortality only exist in books. It's all nonsense. The guy told Kyle to stay awake for a long time. All in all, he had had enough to drink tonight. Kyle thanked him for giving him a ride. Kyle walks in saying that cultivation is nonsense. And the thought of it makes him angry. He's gonna get rid of this nonsense right now. After all, who needs this cultivation? He's rich anyway. The dog sat on the chair and started talking, asking, what did he finally decide to go home? Kyle was speechless when he heard his dog speak. The dog asked him if the alcohol had brainwashed him. Why is he standing there with his hands up? Kyle yelled that his dog was talking. He must have been really drunk. Did he run to the dog and tell him not to scare him? He's awake, isn't he? The dog immediately slapped him with his paw and asked if he was hurt. Kyle said yes. So he's awake. The dog said that from now on, Let Kao follow 3 rules. 1. This is his house. He's the owner and Kyle has to listen to him. 2. Have her buy more of those pills and bring them to him. Kyle lost his temper and said he was an ungrateful dog. He spent so many years raising him, loving him like a father, and now he's rebelling? The dog immediately wouldn't talk to him and kicked him from his paw to bring him to his senses. The dog said he feeds him the same tasteless food every day, locks him up when he leaves, puts him on a leash on walks, and cut off his balls too. You call that loving him? Don't let Kyle worry, he will love him too. So let him listen to him. This is his house and Kyle will live by his rules. Has he understood the rules of this house? In the morning, Jia walked in on Dalia saying she had bought her some soy milk. Hadn't she woken up yet? Jia knocked and told Dalia that she was coming in. At this time, the girl didn't realize the slime on her body. Jia was surprised and asked what it was she was wearing. It smells disgusting. Dalia replied that she didn't know. Her body ached all night, and then she started to sweat a lot. Dalia made up her mind and said that she would go take a shower, and then explain everything. Jia replied that she would help her change the bedding. Coming out of the shower, Jia told Dalia that she was adorable. The girl didn't realize what was happening. Jia said her complexion was healthier and her skin was softer. What kind of potion did she drink that made her look so different? Dalia replied that she had only eaten that weird pill. It was like it was asking her to eat it, so she couldn't resist. Dalia was opening the bottle and Soma didn't expect how she squeezed it, and the water spread everywhere. Dalia thought she was overdoing it, but since when was she so strong? Jia grabbed her hand and said that they should take her to the hospital now. This is not normal, Dalia asked, not pulling her. And with a tug of her own hand she threw Jia across the bed. Dalia apologized and said she didn't do it on purpose. Jia said she meant to say go to the hospital after the broadcast because it was about to start. But this is just not normal. What if her life is in danger? She'll tell the producer everything. They're going to the hospital right now. After going through all the tests, Dalia said she was fine. Jia replied that it was unbelievable. Not only are the results good, but the past problems are gone, and even her nearsightedness has corrected itself. That's incredible. Dalia thought and wondered if the immortal had sent her the pill. Jia replied that she was being imaginative again. Let her be glad she didn't get poisoned or have stomach problems. And then she remembered that the slow cultivator had said that he wanted to send her a gift. He also lives by the Yuqing mountain. At that time, Lu received a new message. He was surprised and saw that someone had bought his pills, but opening the message he saw what Dalia had written. Lu thought, why did the older fairy suddenly call him Mr. Immortal? She also asked him if he wanted something. Lu read the message and marveled at her rebirth. Even his best pills had only reached the 5th cycle. If consumed, they would contribute to his cultivation quite a bit. And for a professional like the older fairy, they'd only take the edge off her fatigue at most. The pill that made her feel like she was reborn. It must be a gift, from an expert in alchemy. Lu decided to reply that the gift was not from him. Dalia thought, if not from him, then from whom? Jia told her if she could see it wasn't him. He's just using her. Pretending to be a cultivator, talking about his discoveries. Asking for a prescription pill, Jia asked her what she was doing. Dalia replied that she wanted to buy all the pills that were available. Who knows, maybe she'll figure it out. Jia turned to her and asked her how she could spend tens of thousands of yuan on such things. Ordinary people like her have a bleeding heart. Dalia replied that she would find the sender of that pill and go live on the air with him. She can't believe he's still not talking about it. Lu sneezed at that moment and said that a hair got in his nose. But immediately he felt someone baby. Wu asked the teacher why are they coming back. The teacher replied that he was foolish, for they had come to cultivate. The teacher turned to Fu and said that he had traveled so much with him through the mountains and rivers and had witnessed many mystical phenomena. Let the teacher ask him, does he feel anything right now? Fu asked, surprised, tired. The teacher asked if he felt he had become stronger than the spirits in those mountains. Fu replied that he thought yes. The teacher said it was because he could sense the spiritual qi that naturally existed in their world. In other words, the spiritual root. Fu was surprised and asked, so he can cultivate to become immortal? The teacher was surprised at the student's answer and told him to answer the question, "What does he think immortality is?" Fu replied that immortals have limitless power. The teacher said that was wrong. The boy asked if they are separate from the mortal world. Once again he missed the answer. Fu yelled out what he knew. Immortals are those who help the weak, fight injustice, and protect their world. The teacher said it was still wrong. Immortals are human beings too. They have 7 emotions and 6 passions. They have wants and needs. Some are evil and some are not. He told Fu that he could only guide him to the beginning of his cultivation. There were many mystical and complicated things that he would only be able to learn on his own. And he really wants Fu to be kind and have patience, because once it starts, it's all up to him. The teacher told the student that this was a good place and suggested they stop here. Fu asked if they would rest here. The teacher replied that no. In their time, spiritual qi has degraded so much compared to ancient times that a place with such a concentration of spiritual qi, like Mount Yuqing, it could be considered the sacred land of cultivators. Today, he would teach him how to absorb spiritual qi with his body. Does Fu remember the breathing techniques he was taught? Let him move yang clockwise through the body and gather spiritual qi. Let it concentrate and absorb, then destroy and transform, dissolve and reassemble the cycle of qi, cleanse the body of impurities, and then temper the mind and thicken the dan. From ashes to ashes, from ashes to ashes, let him draw strength from the cycle of the natural world. Lu watched them and thought, this is that teacher. Lu said that the old Tao is on the verge of a breakthrough. The young Tao beside him is not bad. There are some imperfections, but the spiritual root is good. If he trains hard enough, he'll definitely succeed. And he thinks it's fate, which will allow him to help them. Teacher immediately released his energy into the sky and realized that he had broken through. Fu was also surprised and realized what was happening. The teacher said he had been stuck in the second stage of foundation building for 30 years. He thought he had already reached his peak, but by borrowing spiritual qi from a professional, he broke through to stage 3 and gained a couple decades of life. A blessing from heaven. Lu said that old Tao cultivation is weak, but he wholeheartedly wants to study the Tao. What a pity, his talent is too mediocre. Teacher had told Fu that each of Huaxia's dozens of cultivators had been stuck on building a foundation for years. It took at least 10 years before someone could break through further, for spiritual qi is a subtle and complex thing. Fu said that he was congratulating the teacher. So he can continue to teach him to cultivate? The teacher laughed and replied to consider him lucky. Since he had broken through, his teacher was now considered the best Taoist amongst all of Huaxia. Fu saw that even after the breakthrough, teacher was still the same. But then the teacher felt that the elder had come to them. The teacher said that it was an aura, it was a professional. Teacher greeted him and said that he was very grateful for his help in cultivation. Fu didn't realize who the teacher was thanking here. The teacher immediately lowered the boy's head and asked why he didn't greet the elders. Fu told the teacher that it's an ordinary person. He doesn't even look older than him. Is he sure the guy is a professional? He's not mistaken. The teacher apologized to Lu and said that his student had just started his training and could not feel the spiritual qi, and he hoped he would forgive him. Lu told the teacher not to dwell on it and asked, why did they come to Yuqing Mountain? The teacher replied that he had made the mountain a sacred land for cultivation, and only he wanted to cultivate a little. If the elder doesn't return, he will be very grateful to him. Lu thought that this old man was very polite, but isn't this just one stage? Why be so emotional? Lu asked, and what are his plans after the breakthrough? The teacher replied that he wanted to travel with his disciple, find the sect, and help him become a cultivator. Let him say something? Lu replied that it was a matter between the teacher and the student. There is no need to ask him. But he has a question. What outstanding sects do they know in this world? Teacher thought, shouldn't a professional of this level know everything about the world's situation? Doesn't he know how cultivation has degraded and how few cultivators there are now? And then he thought that at this level, one's solitude would take hundreds of years. He had completely lost touch with the world. The teacher told the elder that he probably didn't know, but the heavenly Tao was damaged and spiritual qi was in decline. Most cultivators are in hiding. Lu thought that based on what he said, the professional cultivators were pretending to be ordinary people. This kind of old cultivators simply can't see them. The teacher realized that he hadn't seen his face last time, but now there really was an immortal aura around him. The teacher said that he thought that no one could exceed the golden foundation stage, but after seeing him, he realizes that there was much he didn't know. Lu thought for a moment, and decided to wait until he realized how many cultivators were hiding in the city. Lu said that his pleas were meaningless. The world is big, and there are many people in it. He is no match for real professionals. The boys asked if there were any stronger ones. They thanked him for the reminder. He had broken through with his help, and was immensely grateful for it. But could his name be recognized, so that he might know who was his virtue? Lu replied that there was no need for ceremony. His name is Lu Mo, and he wishes to simply cultivate peacefully. Master said that Lu could rest easy. He would not tell his great name to anyone. They imposed on him, but they will never bother him again and go. On the way out, Fu told the teacher that he had disappeared. Is he really immortal? The teacher answered him to go, and put him on the right path, and show him the world. Kyle decided to write to Lu to ask him for some pills. He was willing to pay 10,000 yuan for each one. Lu thought of the message and was surprised that the customer wanted a few pills for 100,000 yuan. But who was Emperor Kyle? At the house, Kyle looked at his phone and asked for Kyle to sell him those pills. He was very sorry for letting the dog eat that treasure, and Kyle said he'd eat them himself this time so his stupid dog wouldn't get to them. Lu said that the person calling him a great immortal and willing to pay him 100,000 yuan came out of nowhere. And it's very strange. Lu understood that the pills were sold at the official store. He could buy them there. He didn't have to write to him, and the price was so high. After all, in the past world, the elders had warned him about the good-hearted who liked to give things away for free. They were all cheaters and would drive him to his death if he took anything from them. Lu said the customer thinks he's being scammed just because he's not an internet pro. Let him only dream about it. The customer said Lu said no and thinks they are cheating him. Kyle tried to buy some pills from him, but after a while, he said the immortal added him to the blacklist. The dog came up and asked him, is he just going to go on like this? He was told to buy pills, no need to scream and cry. Kyle replied that he'd tried to buy the pills, but the great immortal not only wouldn't take the money, but he'd added him to his blacklist. He added it first. And he's probably still mad. The dog replied that the seller was indeed angry, and he would make sure he was buried. The dog asked, was he really that dumb? Most likely the great immortal would just ignore him. Kyle asked, surprised, really? And he won't be killed? Kyle replied to make him think for a moment. The one who sells these pills could be an ordinary person, or he could be immortal himself. If it's an ordinary person, so what if he's angry? But if he's not, what does he have to wait to kill him? Kyle said that the dog was right. He said that San Qing the dog was such a stupid dog, eating his own shit, chasing his tail. And now he's calm, collected and smarter than most people. It's a divine pill. Qing told the guy to stop talking nonsense. What about the pills? Kyle replied that he wanted to buy all of them. But the great immortal had already added him to the blacklist. Qing said then the guy should buy everything in the store. Does he think this kind of pills can be bought with money? This is an immortal's destiny. If an immortal wants it, he will get it without even spending money. But if he doesn't want one, he can't get one even for a lot of money. Kyle said he was right. Lu got a text message and asked if all 29 pills were sold out. It was that Emperor Kyle who bought them. He said that since they were bought officially, he would sell. It's all legal, so he can't blame him later, even if he tries. Dalia opened the live stream at this time and welcomed everyone watching tonight. She opened the question about fake cultivation pills. People said she missed the day of the broadcast. How did she have such a transformation? The guy said it's unbelievable. They already have 5 million likes and 100,000 viewers on the broadcast. Dalia said she recently bought a couple of cultivation pills, but some of them are not what they seem. To help others not be fooled, she will show all the pills. She can claim that the gold-based pill is made of many medicinal herbs and sells for 1,888 yuan apiece. But if you cut it open, you can see that it's made of some flour powder and a layer of caramel and sugar. And they're selling it for 1,888 yuan. Don't let people fall for it. And to make a pill, an alchemist must extract the essence from herbs and process it under special conditions. Lu heard all this and thought, what is going on? The elder Velvet Fairy is telling about all the cheaters. Someone sold her a pacifier and pissed her off. It was a good thing he hadn't told her the truth about the pill when she asked. Otherwise he would have been one of the 3 who had fooled her. He threw away the phone and realized that he still lacked the Tao of alchemy, so it was impossible to sell pills anymore. The most important thing was his cultivation. Everything else is just an appendix. Dalia broke the pill and said this pill is made of glue. Time to add the seller to the blacklist and not fall for it. And it's really awful that it's so hard to find real pills among so many. Jia shouted to her that her broadcast was back on top. She even broke her own record. Jia thought and realized that she had bought pills from all the major online stores, but she couldn't find the real pill. She can't think of who the sender was. Kyle saw all those comments and said they didn't know anything. The dog has really gotten spiritual. Not only does he wear his clothes, but he drinks his expensive wine. Dalia was surprised and asked if the dog had gained spirituality. She immediately told Jia to put Emperor Kyle on a separate monitor. Dalia said if everyone doubts it, why not invite their friend Emperor Kyle to the broadcast to prove that his dog really has wised up? Kai replied that she thought he was afraid. Now they would all see for themselves. Dalia greeted him and asked him where the wiser dog was, and then dog charged at him from his paw while he was on live TV. Dalia was very surprised. Dog went on live TV calling Dalia a hottie and asked if she was calling him out. The dog said Dalia is so beautiful and what kind of cream does she use? Dalia replied that the dog does talk, he is even a pervert. And then the comments came in and dog asked them what do they know? Do they think all dogs shake on people for fun? If anyone dares to catch him, he will show them his power. But if journalists are interested in him, they'd better have them send a hottie, or he won't respond. Kyle jumped out in front of the camera and said that now they believe his dog really does talk. Cultivators and spirits really do exist. Dalia was surprised at the moment the broadcast was interrupted. The dog yelped as the guy turned off the broadcast. He was already talking to her. Kyle said the dog was unfamiliar with human society, so he prevented him from embarrassing himself. If the authorities arrive, he won't be able to save him. The dog replied, let them come if they dare. And let the guy go buy him games and expensive alcohol. He was tired of looking at his ugly face all the time. Dalia was telling her boys that the connection to Emperor Kyle had broken. And it's time to call it a day. Dalia asked Jia she had seen it, hadn't she? Jia replied that he said his dog gained spirituality after eating a pill. Jia asked the producer if they had a recording of the broadcast. Can he check if it was a dog or a montage? The producer replied that they had a recording, but it would take some time to analyze. Jia told Dalia that she had heard the producer. They will come tomorrow, plus they still need to examine the changes in her body. The doctor checked her out, but you have to be careful. Dalia immediately agreed. She thought that if this dog really did wise up after the pill could be from the same person as hers. Slowly cultivating? Last time, he had denied it, but why was he still thinking not him? Lu was meditating and then a new message came to him. When he opened his phone, Dalia asked him to meet. Lu saw this and got very excited and said that the senior Velvet Fairy wants to meet him. And he said yes. Lu immediately texted her back that he agreed, no problem. Dalia asked where they could meet, and then Lu thought and remembered that she had just exposed the cheaters and now all of a sudden she wants to meet him. Is this a trap? The guy thought, who is he deceiving? With her abilities, would she need to think of something to deceive a born cultivator like him? And on the other hand, if he refused, she might get angry, and if a professional of her level got angry, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lu realized that he couldn't be careless there. He would choose a place so that he could escape if something went wrong. The guy texted her the place and was happy that he had made some money. Now he could buy his eldest a cup of tea. The next day Dalia was saying this dog is in the news. Let her watch the interview from channel 1818. The dog owner's name is really Kyle. It's really a husky and he can talk and walk on his hind legs. At this time, Kyle was asked when he had already learned that his dog was talking? And why did it happen that way? Kyle replied that he really regretted it. He bought a pill online and fed it to dog, thinking it was nothing. Who knew he would get wise instead? Jia said someone from yesterday's broadcast told the news. They immediately went to the location and found the dog. There's more than one channel, they're all official. It's not a hoax. Dalia immediately marveled that Kyle had bought the pill. Does he even know where to get it? She asked Jia where Kyle lives. They are on their way to him right now. When she flew to another city, Jia said rich people are different. They go wherever they want, whenever they want. But then Dalia stopped with excitement. Jia asked her what was wrong. She replied that she had a meeting with a slow cultivator tonight. Jia said it was fine, just have her asked to reschedule the date for tomorrow, and have her fly out in the evening. Dalia was immediately surprised and asked, a date? At that time, Lu immediately sneezed. He thought it was strange because he had been sneezing a lot lately. At this time, there were people in front of Kyle's house yelling for him to come out. And they wished they could do a broadcast with a talking dog. Kai said he had been too reckless. He didn't expect that the fact that the dog was talking would attract so much attention. They can't even leave the house. He told him that if someone came to get him, he couldn't stop them. Plus they found out about the pills. He can't guarantee they won't steal them. Dog said without fear they could try it. Kyle said he would go tell them it was all a montage and let him hide. They'll all go away when they realize it's all a hoax. The dog drank his alcohol and replied that he had heard it all. Opening the doors, Commander Wu stood in front of him and asked, aka Kyle? They're from the Bureau of Supernatural Investigations. And would like to ask him and his dog to come with them. Kyle asked, what's another supernatural phenomena bureau? What the hell is that? I've never heard of it. They think he's going to go out with a bunch of unknown people who suddenly showed up on his doorstep? Kyle immediately got angry and sent them away. With a wave of his hand, the guard immediately grabbed his arm and held him down until the last one. Kyle got scared and said he was going to call the police. Wu said they came unannounced, so they take the liberty of calling his father. Kai picked up his phone and started to hear his father tell him to go straight with them. Fu and the teacher were driving, and the guy thought that he had been studying with the master for almost 20 years. But this was the first time he heard about the sect. And after the breakthrough, his hurrah has completely changed. His spirit is as sharp as a sword, and his spiritual chi overflows like that of an immortal. So everyone in the sect is just as strong? So everyone can cultivate immortality and do all these things? At this time, Fu saw his teacher looking at the girls and immediately asked, does he have a conscience? The teacher asked, what is he talking about? Right now he was teaching the Tao to the youth in the chat room, but in a moment his phone rang and the teacher asked, what happened? Wu turned to Daosher and replied that they had found a dog who had found spirituality and learned to speak. They need his help. Daosher said he knows. Saw it on the news, it must be a hoax. Wu replied that it's not a hoax. They have already arrested the dog and the owner. It's up to them. They need help looking into the dog. Doshi was surprised and couldn't believe it was true. What saint gave the dog spirituality? Daosher replied that he would be there in half an hour. He immediately shouted to the driver to stop the car. His wife was in labor, and he had to come back right away. The driver said it's a big deal. He can't give me a ride, but it's still closer from here. Daosher replied that he understood. The driver laughed after they left, and said what an energetic old man. At his age and children. Worthy of admiration. FK told the teacher that they are 300 kilometers away from the city. How will they go to see Principal Wu in half an hour? Daosher replied that it was easy. Daosher in a moment grabbed his hand and told him they had to run. Fu was frightened and screamed in fear. The dog said they've had them here for an hour, so what do they want? Kyle replied that he didn't know. Kyle asked Principal Wu that maybe he could at least tell them what they were waiting for. Wu replied that it could be said. Wu replied that, first, he would suggest that they behave themselves when they meet him. If they get angry, he can destroy their whole clan. The guys were really scared and thought it was so serious. Then Daosher came in and said that he was here. Wu met him and said that a couple of days had passed. And it was as if he was already a different person. Daosher replied that this was not a bad observation. He had recently had the good fortune to make a breakthrough. Wu realized that in their time, spiritual chi was especially rarefied and confused. Making a breakthrough was extremely difficult. No one had succeeded for the past few decades. How had he succeeded? When Kyle saw it, he thought it was an immortal. He felt a bright aura from him. He wants to kneel down and serve him. The old man felt that this technique was very effective. The dog at this time realized that things were bad. With a big shot, he won't be able to sit out. What if he thinks it's delicious and makes a cutlet? He thought it was the perfect moment. He would run away while they were distracted. The dog immediately made one dash to go outside in a moment. Wu ordered his men to stop the dog. Kao realized that if the dog ran away, they would take their anger out on him and destroy his whole family. Daosher used his strength in the moment and stopped the dog in front of the doors, preventing him from running away. The dog thought, what happened? He can't move. Daosher with his voice told him to come back and the energy pulled him back. The dog started screaming abuse. He should report him to the Society for the Protection of Animals. Daosher didn't talk to him for long and told him to shut his mouth. The dog immediately fell silent in a moment. Kao comes up on his knees and says his last name is Li, and they already know his first name. And he asks the teacher to take him as a student. Kao told Daosher that he has been striving for the Tao since he was a child. He is willing to go through anything. Let him teach him how to cultivate it. Daosher noticed that this guy has a spiritual root in him, even though it's worse than Fu's. The mere presence of a spiritual root makes him the chosen one. Wu tapped Kyle and told him to stop causing trouble. Daosher calmed them down and replied that he could teach him. But when choosing a disciple, he relies not only on talent but also on personal qualities. If he really wants to learn the Tao, he will watch himself for 3 years, and he would take him on as an apprentice if he could withstand all the training. Kyle got excited and asked, really? Kyle fell to his knees and started thanking the immortal. Doshi replied to let the guy live his normal life. He has his own ways to study him in these 3 years. Wu asked Daosher, how is the dog? Daosher walked over to him and decided to take a look. He applied his magic and began to analyze. Daosher thought and felt that there was a divine pill in the dog's stomach. The pill hadn't completely dissolved yet, but the dog had already become much stronger physically. Daosher said that if they gave it to him, he would make another breakthrough. Wu asked him what's wrong. Fu also asked why the teacher was crying. Daosher replied that they made him angry. But he realized that if he beat him to death, all the effects of the pill would disappear. And even if he can get it, it's already corrupted by his nature. If he eats it, he may become mentally retarded. Daosher asked Kao to tell him where he got the pill from. Let him tell him in detail. At this time, Jia told Dalia that the official channels confirmed that the dog was a hoax, and Kao the dog owner doesn't seem to be home either. She thinks he's in hiding after the expose. Dalia got upset and said she thought it was time to go back. They had already missed quite a bit. Jia told her that Qin Xiao was next door. He lives nearby and knows Kyle. He also helped them organize this trip. Xiao said that a big part of meeting the Velvet Fairy in life. He's the one he has to thank for everything. Immediately, Dalia opened her notebook and told Xiao that she had to hurry to the broadcast. And can she ask him to give this to Kyle if she sees him? She wishes to see him in person. Xiao replied that he would have no problem doing it. He and he are having a drink together. Don't let her worry, he will definitely tell him. Dalia thanked him and said they were in a hurry. And next time she'll give him a treat. It's an honor to help the Velvet Fairy. The whole time Kyle was telling them everything. Daosher asked, did he just buy it online? Isn't it all a scam? Wu also said it's like this. Who will sell the pills that gave the dog spirituality? And then Daosher remembered why the pills seemed familiar to him. It had the same aura as the spiritual qi of Yuqing City. But why is Mr. Lu selling such pills on the internet? Unless he's preparing to enter the mortal world. But is it because of what is to come? But shouldn't there be a lull? Daosher said he had some urgent business to attend to immediately. He and Fu would be gone for a couple of days. If, in these couple days, anything happens, have him try to control it and suppress it. Wu told him not to worry. They had already had the team spread the word that everything was fiction. They also want to follow the seller of this miracle pill. They won't do anything to him even if they find him. Daosher told them to remember not to go to Yuqing Mountain. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to save them. Daosher asked Kyle if he could contact the seller through his phone. Kyle replied no, he tried to send him money and he blocked him. He understood that it was normal for professionals at his level to be a bit out of the world. Daosher told him to cooperate with Director Wu and not to cause any more trouble. Kyle replied that it would be fulfilled. Wu asked Daosha about the dog. Daosha replied that he had a talisman of silence and closure. Have him use them to stop the dog if he wants to hurt someone or triple the commotion. Of course, it's only to control the situation. If he finds out they use them for personal reasons, they'll be dealt with when they get back. Daosha said he would be back in about a week. Let them be careful. The dog yelped and asked what they wanted to do to him. Lu came to the construction around the teacher's residence shaking. And it's very suspicious and unbearable. Lu wondered if he should, perhaps, postpone his meeting with the senior Velvet Fairy. Traveling to the teacher's house was a more urgent matter. He could always come back. At this time, the guys over the dog were controlling him and trying to calm him down. He was so exhausted that he fell to the ground. Cal got excited and said he hadn't had this much fun in a long time. And then a girl came in and said that they had found out where the package was from. The girl said that according to their intelligence, the package was delivered to Mr. Kyle's house from a barn near Yuqing Mountain. Kyle asked Principal Wu what they should do. Teacher had clearly said that they shouldn't go near Yuqing Mountain. Wu replied that he didn't know. Have Kyle watch the dog, and he would make the call. He immediately called his boss. Chief asked little Wu, "Is something wrong?" "Let him tell you soon. Why did he call the old man?" Wu replied to the chief that he guessed right, they have a huge problem. The chief told Wu not to mess with Yuqing Mountain anymore. She is special. Let him listen to the perfectly pure yang and don't make a mess there. Wu was surprised that even the previous boss tells him to obey Daosha, a completely pure yang. He had tried to find out about Duo's teacher and disciple before, but he was left with nothing. It was as if they had appeared out of thin air. The chief told him to remember that some things ordinary people are better off not knowing. Wu replied that he understood. Kyle asked Wu what they would do. Wu replied that there was nothing. There are things in Yuqing's agora that they better stay out of. That Principal Wu held a position his family wouldn't dare mess with. But things are happening on the mountain that even he's afraid of. What kind of monster is lurking out there? Just then, the clock chimed and alerted Kyle that his grandson was looking for him. Kyle showed the bell and said he had to answer it. And then his friend called him and told Kyle he wouldn't believe it. The famous streamer came to his house to meet him and his talking dog, and even left a note. Kyle was surprised and asked what did she write? The guy replied that this goddess name was Dalia. She wrote that she also ate a pill and stuff like that. Wu and Kyle were surprised and froze for a moment. The guy asked, "What's wrong? Is he in here?" Kyle turned off his phone and said it seemed like the signal was bad. "They'll talk later." Wu asked, "Is there something special about this streamer girl he was talking about?" Kyle replied that she's a host on a Tic-Tac channel with dancing and songs about cultivation. And special, he thinks she's great. Wu asked surprised, "Gorgeous? What else?" Kyle replied, "Nothing like that." And then Wu got angry, and the guy bathed saying to wait for him. Kyle looked over and said she was looking kind of weird lately. She was a little pale and looked a little better than the others. But suddenly, her aura and appearance changed dramatically. It was like she was healthier and more alive. And then Kyle pointed and said, "That's her," and showed a picture of her. Wu was so surprised at her beauty that he even drooled. Wu said that there was indeed something unusual about her appearance. Wu suggested to the guy that they should find Dalia. Even though they can't go to the mountain, they can still find out something from her. Lu went into the temple and said that the building was already collapsing. He opened the doors and said that the teacher had come home. He was telling the teacher that he really should have gotten their warning and only left after ascension. There are a lot of professionals out there in this world, and his power is limited, and his kindness and care for him made him let his guard down in his past life. He always said he was too pure and trusting. And he doesn't know if that's a bad thing. But then he saw a mouse fly into the hole with speed. He was surprised and said he wondered why he couldn't feel other people's breath. Could it be because of the mouse? This place is a room his teacher never allowed him to enter. He said it protected an important secret of their sect. If there was something important to their sect in there, then it was necessary to protect what the master had left behind. He immediately broke down the door with his strength and entered. Lu remembered his teacher telling him that if he tried to enter this place, he might die from qi and life force deprivation. He remembered that his teacher had always warned him about the dangers of this place, but the mouse seemed to be fine. And now that he is strong, he has the body of an immortal, his chi and vitality in abundance. He should be able to last long enough to avoid even the most powerful curse. Lu took a step and stopped. After all, he felt his body shaking from this evil power, and then in a moment he saw it disappear. But what was the teacher hiding here? He pulled out the knife and decided he needed to scrutinize it. After all, he wouldn't rest until he knew. Lu began to look around and saw that there was nothing special. But there was a basket covered with clothes next to the table, and he thought maybe it was there. When he opened the basket, he saw that there were comic books with naked women in it. He thought it was a mystery that would absorb chi and vitality. He immediately closed the basket and said that's what the teacher was doing here. Of course, he's the one being a little paranoid. Turns out the teacher had resorted to lying to hide it from him. And then he stopped again, for he felt the shiver again. But it was even stronger than before. In a moment, all the objects from the room started flying in the air. Lu said that something was definitely wrong here. Turning around, he saw that there was a secret place that was in the ground and decided to check it out. He saw that there was a box of magic standing there. Lu wondered what it was, and it was still full, and talismans. You don't even need to use your spiritual sense to sense the evil powers that this box exudes. Apparently, this is what the master has locked up in here. The talismans on the box have started to disintegrate. He doesn't know what's inside, but he's sure that if it comes out, he'll be in trouble. If the teacher kept it, then there was a need for someone to imprison it again, right? But then he saw the letter that was underneath it and picked it up. After opening the letter, Lu made sure that it was the teacher's handwriting. He wrote that if a guy reads this letter, it means his teacher is no longer in this world. But he told him not to come in here, but he obeyed. He can't believe he cultivated to the innate stage. Lu apologized and said that he really had reached the innate stage. The teacher wrote to him to forget, if this reads, he will tell him a few secrets of their sect, but told him to get rid of the discs in the bucket. Can't have his teacher's reputation ruined. Lu thought, what reputation? But he didn't have one, did he? The teacher wrote that he would say straightforwardly that this thing had been inherited by his family for 72 generations. They don't know what's inside anymore, but there's no way you can't open the box. Lu thought it must be over 1,000 years old. The teacher again told him not to open the box. After all, the consequences would be unimaginable. If he had the opportunity, he should bring it to the heir of the Tao sect. Lu replied to the teacher that he understood that it was dangerous. But where would he find him? He decided he would close it with his spiritual power for now. Then he would think about where to find an heir. Lu started working on the box, and using his magic decided to add a couple more seals. The stranger at this time saw the magic and thought it was strange. But why? He could definitely feel his companion's aura. Why did it suddenly disappear? But that's something that needs to be found out. At this time on Kunlun Mountain, Teacher and Su were heading in that direction. In a moment, Fu sat down and said that he was tired. Fu told the teacher that they had been climbing for an hour. How much longer will they have to go? Daosha replied that they were already there. Fu asked the teacher, has he gone crazy with fatigue? There's nothing here but frogs and more steps. And a sign warning that you can't go any farther because there are wild animals there. Daosha used his card magic and redirecting his energy shouted for it to appear. In a moment, a large house appeared in front of them. Daosha told his disciple that it was time for him to show him the new world. When the boy entered the clan, he saw that the great guardian had come. He was overjoyed, for it had been a long time since they had been here. Fu, hearing these words, was surprised that his teacher is the great guardian of this mysterious place. Upon entering the room, they all immediately began to bow to him and greet the great guardian. Fu said it's still the same old pervy old man who likes to watch broadcasts all day long. It's like a dream. Daosha asked where the Tao leader was located. The guy replied that the leader was cultivating on top of the cloud sea. Daosha forgot to introduce that his student had come with him, and he was now their second teacher. The boys all replied together that they welcomed the second teacher. They began to discuss that one must have outstanding talent to attract the attention of a great keeper. And in cultivation with a keeper, a year and 10 counts. Fu heard them and thought he was so impressive. It's like a dream. Daosha told Fu to follow him, for they were heading for the mountains. But the journey was not a short one, and uphill again. Daosha told the kid to remember when he meets the leader, Don't let him say anything unnecessary and behave respectfully. Fu thought, the leader of the Tao of the entire sect, the leader of the entire Tao sect. I wonder what kind of person that is. Probably a gray-bearded old man in a cultivation robe, riding a cloud to see through objects like an immortal. Just the thought of meeting him thrilled him. And then Daosher came to the door and said that they had come. When they opened the door, a girl greeted them and told them that their brother was back. Daosher let out a tear when he saw his brother. Fu was surprised and pondered, is this the leader of the Tao? Why is she dressed like an anime loli? She's definitely being mistaken for a schoolgirl. Dao told Daosher that he was pretty good at making amends. Fu thought the old man was a perverted, Lolita preening Dao. This is the end. This is the end of the whole sect. Daosher asked Dao what he thought of his stupid student. Dao immediately used his techniques and began to analyze him. Fu was surprised and thought it was like she could see through him. As if nothing could escape her gaze. As if she could kill him with her gaze if she wanted to. Dao said it wasn't bad. Sufficient talent, and the heart is patient. A good foundation for cultivation. Daosher replied that of course so, it's his disciple. Daosher told Fu that it was his older brother Nangong Qian. By seniority, he should call her the second teacher. EW saw that she's a girl. Should we call her auntie? Daosher wondered in a moment and thought, if they're going to fall into convention, she should be called sister, but for some reason she likes to be called brother. He can't beat her, so all that's left is to do as she says. Fu bowed and said that he welcomed the second teacher. Daosher ordered the boy to wait for them here, while he and his second teacher discussed something, then applied her magic and raised the curtain. Daosher was surprised and said that his brother was growing. Formed an array of hand waves, and told Daosher to tell him what kind of saint he had met when he was in the mortal world. Daosher replied that it was a professional standing at the top of this world. After telling his brother everything, he calmed down, and said that when the underlying evil reappears, those who secretly guarded this world will also appear. It seems that everything is happening just as she predicted. A month ago, she used a mirror peeking into the heavens to see the future, but it cost her 10 years of her life. Come the wolf that devours the skies, trouble will happen. Of course, the future is affected by many factors, but she is the only one who can try to change it. Daosher was surprised and said, how is that possible? Nan replied that since ancient times there had been a great evil whose purpose was to devour the world and bring chaos into it. It consumes life and gains immortality, so it still exists. Its actions angered the immortal sects, and they banded together to seal the evil, hoping to gradually weaken its power. Of course, the great evil would not allow itself to be sealed, for it needs to devour life forces to continue to exist, and every 10 cycles of rebirth, it sends a part of itself to bring destruction to the world. Daosher said that it had been a little over 180 years since the last time. With the immortal sect's current strength, they wouldn't be able to stop it, and told him not to worry. According to her predictions, as long as the sects were weakened by the lack of spiritual qi, the great evil would also be weakened. Over thousands of years of imprisonment, his powers have been greatly diminished. If all the professionals united, it would be impossible to defeat them. Daosher was surprised and asked, really? Nen replied that this was why she wanted to hold a gathering of all the great immortal sects so that they could fight the great evil together. Daosher told his brother that many professionals died in the battle 3 cycles ago. He fears that there are too few people who can help. Nen replied that they had no choice but to make an effort. Let him try to get that professional he was talking about. They could use all the help they could get. Daosher said he would try. In another world where there are people in the night time, everyone gathers in clubs. And then a guy came up to the girl and proposed to go somewhere and promised that it would be fun. The girl asked, surprised, amused, just don't let him say he wants to eat her. The guy replied that he didn't mind if she ate him. The second blonde guy came to the table and apologized for being late. The girl replied that it was nothing, she had just arrived herself. The other guy noticed that the couple had left. At that time they were alone around the corner, and the guy said that she was the most beautiful girl he had ever met. The girl grabbed him by the neck and asked him if he minded if she ate him then? The guy replied that no, let her do what she wants. The girl replied that she understood, and immediately licking her lips she turned into a monster with sharp teeth. Her head immediately peeled off her body, and with her sharp teeth straight up devoured the guy's head down to the bone. The girl licked all the blood on her face and said it was delicious. In a moment a bolt of lightning from the sky headed for her. She didn't realize how it all happened and didn't have time to dodge it. The lightning bolt cut her straight in half, and immediately hit the glass bottle. The guy came up and said this was the 142nd time he'd gone on a date, and evil was ruining everything. The bottle girl started talking and sent the watchman far away. But in a moment the guy saw someone attacking him from behind. The guy immediately dodged the attack and said they were despicable creatures. He lost his temper with his attack and asserted that they should let him marry in peace. His attack was so strong that the light was visible from across town. The guy said the mantis was trying to stop his carriage. The guy's attack straight up killed the girl, leaving her no chance for resistance. The guy saw how much blood was left of her, and wondered how much it had eaten. But the girl was still alive, and after picking up the moment he decided to run away. The guy immediately turned on his flame and asked, "Is she running away?" Opening the bottle she fell into the container, and the guy said how can he let her go when he's already left the date to catch her anyway. But it's so dirty in here, and now he's going to have to order a cleaning service. The guy called the old man and asked if it was him. The old man asked Sun Jia-fan how his date was. Fang replied that he wasn't mocking, but the old man was almost 100 years old. Even for a watchman, he is old enough. All his students and their students have already gotten married. Why can't he? And let him say what he wanted, or he'll throw it off. Fan said that the old man is already so old that his nerves are shot. They're organizing an immortal sect meeting next month, and he hopes the watchmen will come too. There have only been more demons and ghosts lately, and he wants them to drop what they're doing and come to a meeting. He thinks everyone's as idle as he is. The old man replied that the seals are getting weaker. The boy said that can't be. They were renewed 3 cycles ago. He'll think about it and make the watchman come. The old man said that's great. For that, he'll introduce him to the Purple Dawn Fairy. And I'm sure they'll be perfect for each other. Fang replied that Yang, you old piece of shit. She's 5 feet 8 inches and weighs 180 kilograms. She's a pure ogre. One more prank and he's gonna kick his ass. And in a moment of anger, he broke the phone with his hands. Daosher hung up the phone and said that he had just talked to Sun Jia, the leader of the watchmen. They are in the business of refining bodies and using them in battle. It's a shame that their lineage is drying up. Daosher replied that there were so few cultivators now. Where would he find a body to purify? And what's more, it's passed down through bloodlines. Sun Jia-fan is almost 100 years old, and he doesn't even have a girlfriend. Fu said the teacher doesn't have one either, right? Daosher hit him on the head and affirmed that he had bet his life on the pursuit of the Tao. How can he compare that? The Heaven's Gate is closed, so the path to cultivation is cut off. Fu asked, Heaven's Gate, are these the ones mentioned in the books? By crossing which one can become immortal and ascend to the world of the immortals? Daosher replied that there is a list of people who have tried to go in there, but there is not a single name of someone who has succeeded. They only know that the Heaven's Gate was created to absorb spiritual chi from the mortal world. FK asked, is it to help mortals ascend? Why absorb chi from their world? Daosher said they don't know. But while the chi is being absorbed, the number of cultivators drops. And to prevent the spiritual chi from completely disappearing, all the professionals sacrificed their lives to seal the gate. Peace was restored, but cultivating immortality became more difficult. Fu asked, why did this happen? What was behind the heavenly gate? Daosher replied that it was too early for him to know about it. He would tell in due time. For now, they must find a way to last this cycle. And hopefully they would find a solution when they gathered the immortal sects. At this time, Jia and Dalia came to the coffee shops and walked in saying that they had already made reservations. Kyle immediately raised his hands and yelled for them to come here. Dalia straight up asked him where the dog was. Kyle replied that he was giving him a lot of trouble, so he was locked up. Kyle glowed at this moment, and saw that Dalia was even more beautiful in person. She had an aura of mystery about her. Dalia asked the guy if he could tell how it happened. And how did he end up with that pill? Kyle replied that it had started while he was sitting in a tic-tac. Jia was surprised by his words and asked that he had bought it for 100 yuan. Kyle replied that he was just bored. Dalia asked if he could tell her the sender's address. Kyle replied that he could only say that he was from the town of Mo. And the exact place, he was forbidden to tell it. Dalia said that she spent about 100,000 on pills, but she didn't find a real one. Jiao said, "Why don't they have a conference of all the streamers about cultivation? Maybe someone else knows the whereabouts of the seller? They might even bring him in themselves." The guys immediately said it was a great idea. Kyle got excited and suggested they call the conference the Immortal Sect Meeting. Have them leave the preparations to him. He would take care of everything. Jia agreed and replied that she would then handle the transportation planning and Kyle the location. Dalia will be in charge of advertising and inviting other streamers. At this time, Lu meditated and said that crisis and opportunity go hand in hand. Trouble and grace merge together. Is there a difference? When the ordinary is taken to the extreme, it becomes mysterious. When stupidity is taken to the extreme, it becomes evil, bright, but not dazzling. Strong but not overbearing. A true Taoist is one who is able to find balance. Lu shouted that he had advanced to the fourth innate stage. He now had even more strength, and could defend himself better, but in a moment he received a call from the Velvet Fairy. Lu was surprised that the older woman had dialed him and picked up the phone. Dalia said she's organizing an Immortal Sect meeting at the ML International Grand Hotel in 7 days. Would he have a moment to stop by? Lu thought that the Immortal Sect meeting, it was clear from the name alone that it was an important event. But why would people of his level be invited in person? Dalia wondered at this time why he was silent. Or was he still resentful that she had missed the meeting? Dalia told him that it was her fault for not coming then. She suddenly had important business to attend to, so she had to miss the meeting. She tried to come back that day but was told he had already left. She was very sorry and hoped he would come back, and then Lu felt that the Velvet Fairy was worried about him. It was the first time in his 2 lives that a woman other than his mother cared about him. Lu thanked her for the invitation and replied that he would definitely come. Dalia was happy and said see you soon. Dalia said thank goodness he wasn't mad and agreed to come. Jia told her that it was the first time she had ever seen her worry about her. Let it not be said that the slow cultivator is interested in him as a person. Dalia answered no, and she doesn't know how to explain, but something tells her he's special. Lu at this time said that how could he refuse when the senior Velvet Fairy had personally invited her. This is an opportunity to broaden his horizons. It's also a great chance to find out from the pros if they know what to do with the damn box. And then he remembered that he had just elevated himself. We should try to refine the pills and ask for advice from the masters of alchemy. You can't embarrass the senior Velvet Fairy like this. At this moment, a strange aura that looked like evil was coming out of the box. Daosher came to headquarters and asked if they had learned anything while he was gone. Kyle got excited and replied that the teacher was back. Kyle told the teacher that they were holding a meeting of the immortal sections. Do they want to attend? Daosher asked. Does he want to hold a meeting of immortal sects? Did Director Wu approve of this? He straightforwardly realized that a bunch of mortals dared to use that title. Aren't they afraid of being struck by lightning? Kyle replied. Of course they want to. Find people at the meeting who know something about the pill seller. The teacher said he's not coming. Let them do as they see fit. He has things to do. Kyle was saddened and asked, really? He is really sorry. They invited many streamer girls because Brother Fugui said he was interested in them. Daosher replied to the guy that since he was using the Immortal Sect's name, how could he hold a meeting without a real cultivator? He thinks he'll drop by for a while. Kyle got excited and said that's great. And they will show them what they can do. Daosher asked, what kind of girl streamers are they? Kyle replied that they had invited pretty much everyone involved in dark cultivation. The event is being organized by the Velvet Fairy. He should know her, she had become very popular. Daosher thought in his head that it was worth it to see the Velvet Fairy live. And then he remembered something and told them to wait for him here, he had something to do. Kyle asked the teacher where he went. Principal Wu said he would be here soon. Daosher replied so they don't worry. He'll be quick. During this time, Lu was working on tablets and eventually used the technique and began working on the form. Lu took the tablet and said that the bone washing turned out even better this time. He could bring them to the meeting and not embarrass the senior. Daosher came to the house and said that he had come to see the elder Lu Mo. and he had something important to discuss. Lu was surprised and asked, "Did he come back?" "Just don't let him say that about cultivation." Most of his cultivation was achieved by self-studying the books his teacher gave him. What if he taught him the wrong thing and he blacked out? One must avoid it for now and improve in cultivation until the day of the meeting. He told Daosher that he was currently cultivating and would be back in 3 days. Daosher thought, what a pity he was busy cultivating. One should be glad that he was so polite. "I heard that there were professionals who killed those who interfered with their cultivation," Daosher said, apologizing for interfering with his cultivation. He would also be back in 3 days. Daosher rejoiced because the Immortal Sect meeting isn't until next month. While he waits, he can participate in Kao's meeting. Lu said he couldn't stay here any longer. If Daosher found him, there is no guarantee that no one else will find him. After the meeting you have to move, and his spiritual energy was being saturated more and more as he manufactured the pills. With what he had now, he could break through to the next stage. Lu continued to cultivate, and in a moment, the teacher's box changed, which started to become frightening. Lu in the moment immediately felt a sense of danger. It was the same as what he had felt in the Forbidden Room. Lu was already thinking so it wouldn't be a box. He was greatly surprised, and in a moment, it began to fly apart in all directions. It all started though the room, and Lu said it was bad. He even caught the jug he used to make the pills. Lu walked over to the box and began to cultivate in front of it. In a moment, she accepted her old state. Lu immediately started to see something strange and thought, what is it? His head, 7 emotions and 6 desires were raging. Now he realized that this box was more dangerous than he thought. We need to double, no, triple the number of seals. Lu began to work on his seals so that this energy would no longer bother him. Lu wondered what was in this box. Such a terrifying power, especially that strange red light. His mind is a mess. It's a good thing his mind is strong enough. If he were a little weaker, he might go crazy. Of course, this is a very dangerous box. We need to give it to the Dao sect leadership at the meeting. At this time in the Watchman's headquarters, Fong was following the news on the phone. He saw that Daosher was talking about the Immortals meeting, and said a gathering of immortal sects organized by mortals. Very interesting. But the silhouette looks familiar, the boy asked. Is this what mortals organize? Isn't this some kind of entertainment? Besides, ridding the city of demons is still their responsibility. The other guy said that's right too. Let the boss say why don't they go there and snatch him a wife. Fong got angry and told him to get out of here. And there's no need to worry about his privacy. He called them because he is going to the Kunlun Mountains for a few days. Demonic activity has increased again. He has a bad feeling about that event. He wants them to go there. The boy turned to the boss that it was just a mortals event. Why would they go there? Fong jumped out and replied that it was an order. Remember that besides them, the Watchmen, there are many secret organizations in their world, and each has their own unique way of cultivation. Orthodox Dao cultivators, exorcists based on Xiangli, a medicinal sect hiding in the mountains, even though they don't interact with them, and he knows for a fact that they have lurking professionals. The same could be said for demons using their own evil-based cultivation methods. Their job is to maintain peace among mortals and protect them from evil forces. 2 days later, a guy named Chaji opened the live stream and said that today he was at the opening of the long-awaited Immortal Sect meeting. Let people see it. It's the famous Hongxing Hotel with more than a century of history. It has been renovated for over a month for today's event. Cha revealed the organizer of today's event and Hongxing's conglomerate mentor, Li Kale. At this time, Head Wu received information that 132 cases of disappearance in the previous night. The guy replied that's right. There are only 11 cases in 1 MO. Wu was surprised and asked, so many? Wu said that's fine. We need to increase the number of officers handling cases and add more people to patrols. Also, have them send someone to watch for crowds. We need to keep the residents safe. People at this moment were shouting that he was here. This is the great immortal Du Jie. Let him drop him 50 yuan, Daosher said. It's worth noting that the conglomerate heir is generous. He chose such a famous place to gather internet stars. The guy said that a night in this hotel costs a couple thousand, and he invited all streamers to participate. Even small streamers like him, with a couple of tens of thousands of subscribers, checked into a separate room. The guy asked if he had heard that they had made an Immortal Ascension podium for the event. Dausher asked, how much did it cost? The guy replied that they did everything they could to make it seem like it was all a cultivation affair. They were both surprised, and Dausher asked what they had prepared for the event itself then. The boy replied that there were so many people there. He had been to events before, but never one this large. Dalia glanced through her robe and said there were so many people there. She had been to events before, but never on such a large scale. Jia replied that it was all thanks to Kyle. He did his best. The video with the commercial alone got over 100 million views. And it was trending all day long, and what's more, it's sponsored by a bunch of big companies. The guy was surprised and asked if even the companies were involved. The dog responded by telling them to wait for him to show up. Let them forget about their commercials. His broadcast will be trending all over the internet. Dog asked, where is that old man? Fu asked, are they about his teacher? He said he wanted to be at his best, so he's getting ready to open at 8. Dausher was with the girls at this time and said that the luck line is good, the prospects are not bad. She would be very lucky soon. The girls asked him to make a wish for them too and asked if they would be happy too. Dalia had been looking at the crowd the whole time, wondering if Lu Emma would arrive. And then Lu arrived and said it must be here. He realized he didn't have money for new clothes, so he took the teacher's clothes. And he hoped he was not angry with him. Lu got the information from Dalia and realized he was too weak to go through the main entrance. Coming to the back entrance, Lu said that he was invited by the senior Velvet Fairy. The guy replied that he must be a slow cultivator. Miss Velvet Fairy is waiting for him. Let her follow him. Lu thought, not surprising for a gathering of immortal sections. Only the best sects could afford events of this level. But why are there so many mortals here? So many people, and only a couple of them are cultivating, and even then weakly. Even this guy here is a mortal. And then Lu realized that society was run by mortals. Maybe it was an unspoken rule not to reveal one's cultivation. Must be, yes. If all the professionals are exposed, mortals will suffer at best. A clash of spiritual power could blow this place up. He knew he had to restrain his chi. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died if the elder was angry. The strangers entered the room and asked, are Dalia and the dog here? The girl replied that somewhere close she could smell their bodies from here. The guy replied that it was perfect. Once they ate them, they would be one step closer to resurrection. The boy and Lu knocked on the door, and immediately Jia came out and asked what's wrong. When she saw Lu, she was surprised and blushed. The guy said it was a guest invited by the Velvet Fairy. Dalia jumped out and asked, did the slow cultivator arrive? They started looking at each other, and did not even take their eyes off each other. Lu saw that Dalia was very beautiful, like a goddess. Spiritual chi is emanating from her. Not surprising for a cultivator from a major sect. Dalia also saw that he was even more handsome than in the video. Nowadays most streamers use filters. I never thought there were people prettier than filters. The dog asked who it was. Fu replied that he didn't know, he had only heard that he was an invited guest. Lu immediately thought that there were chi fluctuations in the room. It's that Taoist disciple. The energy is coming from him, even from a dog. Thank God he keeps his chi in check. There are so many professionals here. Everyone's just hiding. Otherwise, how could a dog have cultivation? There are too many hidden professionals in this world. The dog immediately dropped his cigarette and stood up. Fu was surprised and asked what happened. Did the cigarette burn his hair? The dog responded by telling him to burn his ass. He's sensing a powerful aura. Dalia said she would take him to his place. And don't let Jia follow her. Jia got angry and closed the door, and said ditching her friends because a guy showed up. The dog immediately came up to Jia and started sniffing her. Jia was frightened and asked what he was doing. The dog said that naturally they were losers, they didn't feel anything. He sensed the fluctuation of chi. It seems that an influential person has arrived. Jia immediately smacked him on the head and asked, who did he call a loser? Fu asked him what about his teacher. The dog replied that it wasn't like that. How could he feel his lousy aura? He went to the door and asked if they could help him, and then he said she disappeared. Jia did not tolerate such disrespect and slapped him and said he was an upstart. In the moment while Lu and Dalia were walking, the guy stopped her and said he was apologizing. Dalia immediately realized they were holding hands and pulled her away abruptly. Lu thought he had been rude and offended the fairy in some way. This is his first time holding a girl's hand. He doesn't have any experience. What should he do? Her palm is so soft. He remembered that it was the first time he was at an immortal gathering. He can't offend the members of the major sections. Besides, the fairy had invited him. He can't appear rude. Lu said that because of her invitation, he could attend this meeting. It is an honor to meet such influential people. Dalia was surprised and thought he was still pretending. He's so handsome, it's a shame he's so immersed in his game. I wish everyone were so loyal. Lu saw that he had said something wrong again. A woman's heart is more complicated than Tao Te Ching. Dalia apologized and said that she lacked manners. And it's about to start, so we need to get him to his seat soon. And it's time to go. Lu smiled and replied that it was time to go. The guy was telling Friend that he was quite popular when he was selling the same kind of pills. Why the account was suddenly deleted, the friend responded by telling him not to bring it up. This makes him angry. He doesn't know why they complained about him, and wholesale the account was deleted. 3 million subscribers are gone. The guy said he's lost so much this month. What does he plan to do? The friend replied that he would be starting over. He's even more eager to make videos. He had an oven. He bought it years ago, and now he has to buy a new one for filming. The guy said it couldn't be. Did someone want to buy it? The friend replied that he had been asking for it for a very long time, so he sold it for 20,000, and then he started selling pills. All his customers left. Such a failure. A friend said the account was deleted right after the sale. I'm also sure he complained because he was jealous. He won't forgive him for that. Did the girl tell Daosher to see who was there with Dalia? Dalia and Lu walked out into the audience together, and everyone couldn't take their eyes off them. Dalia said that this was his seat, and things would start soon. Dalia left him and told him to sit here, and she would be back soon. Lu realized that she had prepared a very nice place for him. It was good that he went with her, but then a girl came over to him and asked, "She's not wrong, right? Is he a slow cultivator?" The girls started surrounding him and asking him questions. Daosher got very angry and asked who stole his girls. Daosher saw his face and immediately realized that he was a professional. What is he doing here? Daosher thought, but why him? The guy in the old man's clothes said it was him. The guy asked what happened. He immediately ran and said that he had finally found that ungrateful bastard. Now he's gonna get him. Immediately, he started yelling at the slow cultivator. The girl stopped and asked what was he yelling about. The guy said Lu's a damn punk selling fake pills. How dare he fool him? Today, he will bring justice in the name of heaven. Lu realized straight away that this was the professional who had sold her the oven. And he now recognized him, and from what he's seen on the internet, he's at least a level 8 pill master, and most importantly, he claims to be selling fakes. Just don't let them tell him what he thinks, that he thinks the level of his ballets is too low, and he's insulting his furnace with it. The girls started to reply that it was all nonsense. Their baby is not like that. He's not like that guy. He looks disgusting. They started yelling to look at themselves first. His eyebrows are dirty. Maybe he washes himself first. He's disgusting. People started asking, what are they all arguing about? What's going on here? Something about selling pills, I think. The guy immediately started talking and heard a voice telling him to calm down. He was surprised and asked who said that. Lu said that he was the one slowly cultivating. Let us talk. This is a gathering of immortals. There are many important people here. Why don't they discuss it later? The guy started asking, did anyone hear him? Did he give up? He wants to settle this in person. The girls asked him, is he crazy? Lu didn't say anything. And here he is insulting him for no reason. And it turns out the guy really is crazy. The guy got angry and said that he was a level 3 cultivator. He would deal with him. Lu told him to stop. Otto, the women are going to go crazy with anger. Only he can hear him. The guy was surprised and thought, what does he have to transmit sound? He had heard about this technique from his teacher. Only those who are in a golden shell can do that. He had heard rumors that there would be real immortals here. They surround him and flatter him. Had he signed his own death warrant? The guy immediately fell to his knees and said that he was joking. May Mr. Immortal forgive him for his transgressions, the girl asked. What happened? He had just been aggressive. Why did he suddenly fall to his knees? The situation changes more often than the costumes in the video. Lou immediately jumped out in surprise and said no need. In a moment he thought, why is he swearing? He's a nobody. Isn't he a joke to the professionals here? The guy started running away and apologized and called them immortal, saying he was on his way out of here. The girls were asking how they let him in the first place. He's insane. And it's outrageous. Daosher said thank God the Lord was kind and let him go. He is afraid he will turn him into dust out of anger. A guy running away ran into Kyle. The guy said he was the Das Bo Hai Lan Bo. Bo asked, does he know him? Kyle said he bought a lot of his rejuvenation pills. Bo replied to Master Lee that he knows they are above that. You have to realize that in their line of work, it's just pills. Kyle said he heard them yelling something about immortality pills. Does he know an immortal who sells them? Bo asked. Had he taken them before? Kyle replied to shut up, their dog ate them. Does he know his dog? She ate the pills and now she's talking. He couldn't even take them. And this immortal is ignoring him. He's about to lose his mind. Bo thought about it and realized that he really was immortal. What he was selling for 200 yuan was really an immortality pill. This is outrageous. The host began to tell the dear guests to take their seats. The opening ceremony of the Immortals meeting will begin in 5 minutes. Lou calmed down and was glad that they had finally left. Daosher approached Mr. Liu and said that he seemed to be in a good mood since he had decided to take part in the event. What is he doing here? Just then, a guy came up to him and asked, how dare someone sit here? Let him not say that he thinks he is worthy of being on par with pure Dao Yang. Daosher thought, where did this idiot come from? What does this have to do with him? The boy replied to Daosher not to bother. Zhou Lei will help him. He already knows everything already. A true immortal present at the gathering of immortals is pure Daosher Yang, and he's sure the immortal will be glad if he helps him. Then he can succeed, Zhou said as he stood up. And don't let him spoil Daosher's mood. If he doesn't want to fight, then let him not take offense at the rudeness afterwards. Daosher thought that this was the end. This idiot had pissed off an immortal. And he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. He won't be able to do anything when the time comes. Zhou saw that the immortal was looking at him. His facial expression, he was definitely pleased with him. Liu asked the guy in a menacing voice, what sect is he from? And who is his teacher? Zhou didn't expect such a question and was surprised. Zhou said, why does he have to tell who his teacher is? Why doesn't he call his teacher to kick both of their asses? Let him remember, his name is Zhou Lei. He'd better apologize to Master and get lost. Liu introduced himself and said that his teacher was an immortal from Yuqing Mountain, although he was from a small sect, but he didn't provoke him. And maybe his cultivation isn't that strong, but how dare he swear at him? Daosher immediately said that it was a bad matter. Liu said, demanding excuses. He immediately used force against this tomboy. Zhou said that Liu dared to disrespect Master Dao and still hasn't paid the price, still being violent and trying to disrupt the meeting. Liu replied that he had come down the mountain about a month ago. Everyone he had met had been kind. He had forgotten that people like him still existed. Jia saw this and told Dalia that Liu had gotten into a fight. Dalia was frightened and asked what was wrong. Daosher realized that this was the end. The elder was getting angry. If he flew into a rage, not only the mortals might suffer, but the entire cultivator community as well. Daosher turned to them and said that he would like to intervene, and suggested that they settle things peacefully. Zhou was scared and told the master to save him. Daosher jumped onto the stage and everyone turned their attention to him, saying it was a cultivator. But what is he holding in his hands? Daosher demonstrated all his abilities and showed them. People were all surprised. Jia said that it couldn't be, he's really cool. Liu caught this paper airplane and sent it into the air. Daosher went on and made a bird out of it. People said the paper crane turned into a real crane. What kind of magic is that? It looks so realistic. A real immortal. Jia was shocked and said it was very beautiful. And the number of viewers keeps growing and growing. Dalia was also surprised and thought that Liu Mo had done it. He had really been an immortal all this time. Dalia said that the paper crane was nothing more than a fun trick. In a couple of years, even an ordinary person could learn such a thing, but turning paper into flesh, turning real, is a whole other level. Even a brother can't do that. Zhou was greatly surprised and didn't realize whether he was asleep or not. Did he have spiritual power? How did he do this? People immediately grabbed Zhou and started dragging him off the stage. He shouted and asked what were they doing. The guys punched him and told him to quickly apologize to Mr. Immortal or else they would beat him to death. The boys turned to Lu and said that he was stupid and blind. Couldn't see Mount Tai. What should they do with him? Zhou fell to his knees and told Mr. Immortal that he was mistaken. He was blind and asked for his forgiveness. Lu told him to get up and he could go. Someone who cultivated without a teacher is very much pitiful. Dalia said that since they had settled things peacefully, the immortal sect meeting could continue, and let him greet the organizer, the Velvet Fairy. The guys kicked Zhou's ass and told him not to come back here. Zhou said, "Why is someone so strong pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Where is his dignity?" And then he ran into a guy who was much stronger than him, and taller. He asked Zhou where he was going. Dalia came on stage in a beautiful outfit, and said that she welcomed everyone present. People immediately started cheering and rejoicing. At this time, Zhou fell under the hands of the villain. He asked him what he was doing. The villain showed his appearance, and opened his mouth. The villain repeatedly told Zhou to be afraid of him, and called him that he had a delicious soul. And immediately ate his head. The villain said hate, fear, despair. It felt so good. But Lu realized at this moment that he was feeling that strange feeling again. Dalia said that everyone was probably tired of waiting for the start. Let them welcome the talking husky San Qing. The dog immediately came on stage and started greeting everyone. People said he was a real talking dog. The villain gobbled this guy up and said he had a pretty good body and decided to use him for a bit. And now he had a cultivator's soul, and he could fight that old Taoist. And he had forgotten that there were two others. If he can eat the dog and the girl, then smearing old Taoist would be a breeze. Kyle told Bo to tell him who was selling the pills. Bo replied for him to calm down. He needed to flip through the story. Wu immediately walked over to Kyle and put his hand on Kyle's shoulder. Kyle asked the principal what he was doing here. Wu replied that there was a problem. We need to evacuate everyone out of here right away. Kyle told the director that the event had just begun. And 200 million more are watching the broadcast. They can't stop everything. Did Wu tell his men what they're worth? Tell them to get everyone out now before it's too late. Wu replied that their department has detected traces of evil energy here, and fears it has something to do with the hundreds of people disappearing. We need to stop this meeting now. And then all the doors closed and the girl told no one to move. Wu said it was her, and ordered his men to take her. People immediately ran to her to disarm her. The girl said that someone couldn't wait to die. The girl took one swing of her hand and sent all the fighters to the other side. Didn't even work too hard. She showed her face on the other side and people got scared and started yelling that there was a murder here. Lu clutched his chest and thought, why did his heart suddenly ache? Even bad memories were starting to surface in the city. It was urgent to stabilize his condition. The dog said that this energy was so frightening. Dalia was frightened too and asked what was going on in there. The dog said it was bad and he had to run. But then a demonic hand swooped down and grabbed him by the head. The villain started laughing and saying, "What a flavor! He must have eaten an immortal pill." The girl said, "Stop wasting time, let him eat it. Then let him kill the old Taoist and grab the girl." The villain said he's not her servant. And stop telling him what to do. He'll eat whoever he wants. He immediately sent his hands toward Dalia. But in a moment, someone stopped him. Daoshi used his stick and told the demon not to even think about it. The demon effortlessly repelled his attack that even Daoshi was surprised and couldn't believe such a thing, and pulled Daoshi towards him. Daoshi realized that things were bad and used the talisman to punish the 5 lightning bolts, and smashed the talisman into the demon's head. The villain was much stronger than him, and slammed his fist into Daoshi. Dalia was surprised and caught the old man. Dalia asked Master Dao if he was okay. But then someone used fire, and the demon said someone is playing with death. Let him write a will. Daoshi thought to himself that it was inherent chaos. Where did they come from? And why on this particular day? The girl told them to just look at that pathetic look. Stop wasting time and let Guy finish that old man off. Daosher immediately used the summoning technique and attacked the villains with his weapon, bringing them together in one place. The girl asked him, did he think it would work? Daosher said he wasn't done yet. He immediately pulled out his dome and used the climbing technique. Cupel increased in size by a huge amount and came on top of the villains. He immediately attacked. Cupel came down like a huge house on top of them and closed in. At this moment, Daosher was injured and started spitting blood. Daosher said that the mystic sky bell was a treasure that had come to them from ancient times. The cowardly dog covered himself with his paws and asked the old man if he had caught him, who asked, did it work? What was expected from a Dao master? Lu at this moment thought, why is the ominous feeling getting stronger and stronger? But the bell began to slowly collapse, and the demon's blows made holes in it with each strike. Lu realized that the two had absorbed each other and become one. And then the bell completely collapsed. Daosher said that it was incredible. The demon came out of the bell and was still several times stronger than before. The demon said that Daosher was an old fart, and his stupid bell wasn't even 1/10,000th as strong as the one used to imprison his body. The remaining Taoists had sacrificed their lives to suppress him. Now only the talentless and useless ones like him were left. Such a treasure had gone to waste in his hands, so he would take it away. Daosher felt that the Ira was the same as his elder brothers. This is the realm of the golden core. He increased the power of the golden core, absorbing his partner and the power of the bell. Daosher asked the older man, what's wrong with him? Why is he just standing there? Just don't let him say he's not going to help. Maybe he's not on their side. A moment across the arena someone threw a flag and the demon said it was the guards. The guy told the old man pure young, he didn't think he'd get smeared like that. And yet the guards were more suited to deal with such a creature. The flag in the demon's hands immediately began to decay, and he was greatly surprised to find himself in such a trap. The demon said they made him remember something unpleasant. Daosher shouted for them to stop. They are already in the golden core. They are no match for him. The guard guy got scared and realized things were bad. The demon immediately headed for him to kill him. But the guy couldn't escape and the demon punched him so hard that he sealed himself to the wall, spilling his blood. Cal yelled that they were missing. Wu thought that this can't be happening. Even a Daosher master can't handle this. The villain said their meddling was only annoying. Daosher pulled out a talisman called Annihilation. Once he uses it, everything within a 300-meter radius will turn to dust. If they allow it to consume the flesh and soul of everyone present, it will become too powerful to be stopped. He has no other choice. He asks for forgiveness, but evil cannot continue to exist. He doesn't listen to his elders, but he has high hopes that he can at least protect the defenseless witnesses. He has nothing to offer but his own life. Daosher immediately turned to the elder, but then saw that he had already left. The demon asked, did anyone else want to die? Lu decided to stand up for everyone alone. The villain attacked him, and said he would wipe that expression off his face, but Lu used his techniques and defended himself against the demon's attack. The demon was greatly surprised and marveled that he had repelled his attack. Lu realized in a moment that he had to act alone and exterminate this demon into small pieces. The demon asked, what happened? He was scared for a second, but clenched his teeth and said he was a human bug, and he would gladly eat his soul. And without hesitation, he set out to attack him with his demonic powers. The demon threatened and said that he would kill the little man. Daosher was frightened and said that the demon had gone mad. Daosher released several talismans and attacked the demon. The people were frightened at this point and fell to the ground. Daosher was clever and used a technique to protect all the people and put them under a shell. The demon started fighting Lu and smashing everything in its path. Wu was surprised and couldn't say a word. Daosher said that it couldn't be. He realized that it was someone born at the Golden Core stage. A great demon of this level hadn't appeared in 100 years. Lu sent him flying with a single blow. The demon fell like a crowbar to the ground and felt pain in his body. Daosher thought to himself, just so they wouldn't say that the elder Lu Emo was stronger than his older brother. The demon asked, where did he even come from? He's in the homeworld as well, but even the cultivators of the past wouldn't compare in strength to him. Lu proved to be stronger than him that the demon even began to freak out. After all, he was being destroyed with every blow. The demon said that there shouldn't have been enough energy left in the world to cultivate in the homeworld. How did he gain such power? Daosher said that even spiritual chi surpassed the homeworld. How could it be? But Lu didn't stop there, and directed all his energy at the demon. Those sun vines covered the demon completely, and wouldn't let him escape. The demon screamed for them to get off him. The lianas slowly began to collapse his body. With each squeeze they ripped body parts out of him. The demon said that his spiritual chi is so pure. It even penetrates through his body. Let the human not take him so far. Since he can't escape, he's counting on one attack. Once he kills him and eats him, no one can stop him. After all, fortune favors the brave. Even if he has to sacrifice part of his soul, he'll take him with him. And immediately went to attack Lu. Lu didn't run away and decided to go to meet him with his attack. The demon was saying that he was a fool. Even the immortals from the past could kill him. Even if they both disappeared now, he still won. The demon touched Lu's arm and told him to die. But Lu realized what he was doing and didn't stop. He asked the demon if he was done. Lu immediately pulled out a glowing sword from his other hand to end this once and for all. Lu launched a sword attack. But the demon was laughing at this time and didn't realize what was about to happen. Daosher said it was strong. But one born in chaos can't be killed that easily. The demon started laughing and asked if that was all he could do. He seemed to have overestimated him. Now let him die and become part of his power. Lu said that if he remembered correctly, divine lightning is poisonous to creatures like him. Then why don't they take a walk? Lu used his vines again and covered the demon with him in the same net. But he managed to climb out to kill him. He immediately threw it outside to end it once and for all. Pulling out his sword, he summoned the lightning technique. The demon begged him to stop. After all, he's gone mad. He wants to go through his grief to use it against him. Lu immediately gathered his energy and prepared to let it out. Suddenly, he said it was time to end. Lu flew into the sky with his net and didn't want to stop. He had to finish his work. The demon was saying that he was an idiot. After all, his power triggered the increase of the power of grief to the initial level. He'll be beaten to death. There won't even be a soul left. But Lu didn't want to stop and walk to the last. The lightning shone more and more in the sky and Lu's light was brighter and brighter. Everyone went outside and Daosher said, "It was a lightning bolt of grief." He has no idea what level Lu is on if his grief has caused such excitement. Lu reached the last stage and said he was going for a break. But the demon tried to resist and Lu asked, "Is that it?" The demon said the lightning bolt of grief has 5 shots, each one stronger than the previous one, and he's playing with fire. If he dies, only his soul will suffer. But if he gets a scratch on his soul, his body will suffer too. The lightning immediately hit the net, and the demon started screaming in pain. Lu said he was talking too much. The demon said the heavens are blind bastards. They hit the wrong guy. Lightning bolts immediately descended and headed for the guy. Lu saw such a thing and drew his sword. And with his strike, he channeled energy into the sky to attack. Lu used his seal to prevent the lightning energy from spreading to his world where he lives. Wu asked, "Is this the legendary Immortal's ascension scene?" Dalia saw that this was what Lu Mo's true identity was. The videos of him were so realistic. But whatever happens, may he definitely survive. Lu didn't give up and confronted against the lightning so that he wouldn't lose and defend his honor. Daosher was saying that it was unbelievable. He had withstood 3 strikes of tribulation lightning just by using spiritual chi. Ancient writings stated that a cultivator could only endure tribulation with body, soul, and chi. Countless geniuses have disappeared trying to endure such a thing. Just how strong is his chi? The demon said the guy was a monster. To receive and endure 3 lightning strikes of grief without being on top of the homeworld. If he survived, he would enter the world of grief. He'd better let him out now. And he doesn't need an enemy like him. He's the only survivor of the 4 monsters of disaster. He will not die as long as chaos exists. And even if it destroys his body again and again, he will be reborn as long as evil and chaos exist, as long as people have bad thoughts. So if he kills him now, he'll be back for revenge. Let the guy let him out before he makes an enemy. Lu replied to then let the demon let him, to send him where he should go. Immediately, he used his energy to attack. All the people covered their ears, and Dao Sure said that the power of Tribulation had surged. And the elder Lu Mo must survive! In a moment, everything disappeared and the light grew dimmer. Lu remained alive and lost his outer garment. The demon said the final lightning strike of grief. He couldn't avoid it, they would both disappear. Lu said the final lightning strike of grief and he can't escape. Both of them would disappear. Lu immediately grabbed the demon with his hands. The demon was startled and asked what he was doing. Lu directly lifted it above his head and let lightning fly. The demon yelled for the guy to get his hands off. And he's not human! But the lightning struck them directly.